What if the world you thought you knew was built on mysteries left unsolved for thousands of years? Imagine a time when massive glaciers covered the earth, when creatures as large as mountains roamed the land, and when entire civilizations vanished without a trace. A time so distant that we are still piecing together the fragments of its story. The Ice Age, a period that shaped our world, yet hides secrets beneath layers of ice, frozen deep in time. From the sudden extinction of mammoths to the inexplicable disappearance of ancient cultures, the questions remain unanswered. How did early humans survive the brutal cold, and why did entire species vanish without warning? What caused the dramatic shifts in climate, and how did these events echo through history? The answers are buried, waiting for discovery. But some might never come. So, what's the truth? What's hidden in the shadows of Earth's icy past? Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the Ice Age mysteries that science can't yet explain. In the frozen expanse of Siberia, where the winds sweep across endless tundra and the land is gripped by a harsh, unforgiving cold, something unexpected was discovered. A discovery that would challenge our understanding of ancient civilizations and the people who lived in this desolate wilderness. Far beneath the permafrost, preserved by ice for over 2 millennia, lay the remains of a woman whose story was buried in time until the thaw released it. She has come to be known as the Siberian Ice Maiden, an ancient mummified figure whose life and death remain shrouded in mystery. The location of her discovery, a remote region near the Ukok Plateau in the Russian Altai Mountains, is itself an enigma. This is a land so isolated that it feels as though the rest of the world has long forgotten it, yet it holds the key to a part of history that remains tantalizingly out of reach. The region has been inhabited for thousands of years by nomadic tribes, but the Siberian Ice Maiden, also known as the Princess of the Altai, is thought to have belonged to a people whose culture was far older and far more complex than we have ever imagined. The moment the Ice Maiden's mummified remains were uncovered in 1993, the world was offered a glimpse into a past that had long been obscured by ice. Her body, perfectly preserved by the freezing conditions, was draped in rich, detailed clothing made of leather, felt, and fur. Her hair, dark and still full of life after centuries of isolation, framed her face in such a way that she seemed not dead, but merely asleep, waiting for the world to remember her. Along with her, grave goods were found, intricately crafted tools, ornaments, and a strange yet unmistakable connection to the world of the Scythians, an ancient nomadic people who roamed the steppes and mountains of Eurasia. The woman's burial suggested a person of high status, someone whose life was deeply intertwined with the customs and traditions of her time. But it also raised questions about the people she represented. Who were they? Where did they come from? And why did they leave behind such a legacy? The Ice Maiden's remains were far more than just an ancient burial. They were a doorway to a mystery that science is still attempting to understand. Tests on her body revealed that she was a member of the perplexing culture, a nomadic group that thrived in the Altai Mountains around 2,500 years ago. This period, the early Iron Age, is often associated with the rise of powerful, horse-riding cultures that ruled the vast expanses of Eurasia. However, the question lingers. Just how much of the Scythian world can be directly connected to the people of the Altai? And what made the perplexing different from other groups of the time? Her burial site revealed intricate details that made her find even more extraordinary. She had been carefully laid to rest in a burial mound known as a kurgan, a type of tomb used by many cultures across the Eurasian steppes. But this was no simple grave. The position of her body, the careful arrangement of the objects around her, and the apparent ritual significance of her entombment suggest that she was not just a woman from a forgotten tribe, but a leader, a symbol of power and influence in her time. And yet, despite the richness of her burial, the lack of written records from the perplexing people means that we are left with little more than speculation. As archaeologists carefully examined her clothing, they found patterns that were unfamiliar, even for the nomadic cultures of the region. The colors, the symbolism, and the intricate craftsmanship of her attire suggested a level of artistry and cultural development that far exceeded what was expected from her people. Was she simply an elite member of her society, or did her garments hold some deeper meaning, perhaps a spiritual significance lost to time? But it is not just the clothing and burial practices that raise questions. The Ice Maiden's physical condition, particularly her age at the time of death, adds an unsettling layer of complexity to the mystery. She was young, perhaps in her 20s, yet her body showed signs of what appeared to be trauma, indicating that her life may have been one marked by conflict or violence. Were the perplexing people, as some have speculated, embroiled in struggles with other tribes? Or did the trauma stem from some other, more mysterious source? Perhaps the Ice Maiden's death was the result of political intrigue or personal betrayal, factors that would have been hidden from us, lost in the winds of time. What makes her story even more perplexing is the presence of an array of strange artifacts found alongside her remains. These objects, which seem to blend different cultural influences, hint at the possibility of far-reaching trade networks or even cross-cultural connections that would have been unexpected for a group living so far from the major civilizations of the ancient world. Could the Ice Maiden have been a representative of some larger, even more enigmatic civilization? Was she part of a people whose interactions with other cultures are only now being uncovered? Or is it possible that she was part of a forgotten chapter in the history of Eurasia, one that does not fit neatly into any known historical narrative? Theories abound, and each new piece of evidence only seems to deepen the mystery. Some have suggested that the Ice Maiden was a shaman or spiritual leader, given the symbolism of certain objects found in her tomb. Others have speculated that she might have been part of a royal lineage that was tragically lost to the ravages of time. Some even go so far as to argue that her burial was part of a larger ritual that tied her to the broader mythologies of the Scythian world. Yet, despite all the advances in modern archaeology and genetics, the true identity and story of the Siberian Ice Maiden remain elusive. With each discovery, we inch closer to understanding the world she inhabited, but still, the question remains: who was she? What did she believe, and what was her role in the society she left behind? As scientists continue to study the artifacts, the mummified body, and the culture of the perplexing people, the Ice Maiden's story seems to slip further from our grasp, like a distant echo from a past that refuses to be fully revealed. Perhaps it is fitting that she remains a figure of mystery. After all, some secrets of the ancient world are meant to be preserved, not solved. For now, we can only wonder what more is hidden in the ice waiting to be uncovered. As we move further into the mysteries of the Ice Age, we turn our attention to something perhaps unexpected: the ingenuity of early human societies in adapting to the harsh environments of their time. It's a story that lies beneath the surface, hidden in the waters of rivers and lakes, waiting to be discovered. In the remote northern regions of Europe, scientists have uncovered remnants of ancient fish traps, intricately designed structures that challenge our understanding of early human innovation. In the summer of 2007, a discovery was made in the murky waters of Lake Hula in modern-day Israel. Divers exploring the lake bed, which had long been a center of human activity for thousands of years, stumbled upon something that seemed to belong to a time far older than any known settlement in the area. An array of wooden fish traps, preserved in an astonishingly well-preserved state due to the anaerobic conditions of the lake bed. These traps were not just rudimentary tools. They were highly sophisticated structures, constructed with a knowledge of hydrology and fish behavior that suggested an advanced level of understanding from the people who built them. The discovery stunned archaeologists and historians alike, as it revealed that ancient humans were capable of engineering complex systems to harness the resources of the natural world in ways previously thought to be beyond their reach. The fish traps themselves are not a singular phenomenon. Similar findings have been made across Europe, particularly in areas where the retreat of glaciers left behind freshwater lakes and rivers. In Denmark, for example, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of what may be the oldest fishing traps in the world, dating back over 10,000 years. These traps, constructed from wood and stone, were designed to capture migrating fish, providing a crucial food source for Ice Age communities. The structures are often simple in design, stone weirs and fences, but the precision with which they were built suggests that their creators understood the dynamics of water flow and fish behavior on a level that is remarkable for such ancient peoples. But what is it about these fish traps that makes them so captivating? Why, after all these years, do they continue to stir the imaginations of those who study them? One of the most intriguing aspects of the fish traps is the level of craftsmanship involved. These were not mere survival tools. They were engineered with an awareness of the natural world that goes far beyond the rudimentary tools typically associated with hunter-gatherer societies. The traps were designed with intricate systems of channels and enclosures, guiding fish into places where they could be captured with minimal effort. This suggests not only a deep understanding of fish behavior, but also a knowledge of the seasonal rhythms of the rivers and lakes where these traps were placed. Early humans, it seems, were far more in tune with their environment than we often give them credit for. What's more fascinating is that these fish traps appear to have been used across a wide geographical area, from the deep forests of northern Europe to the shores of what is now the Middle East. The discovery of similar structures in different parts of the world suggests that the practice of fishing with traps may have been a widespread method of subsistence during the Ice Age, one that transcended regional differences and cultural barriers. It's a sign that early humans, though scattered across vast distances, were sharing knowledge and techniques that enabled them to survive in some of the harshest conditions imaginable. Yet, as is often the case with discoveries from the Ice Age, the deeper we dig, the more questions arise. How did these early human communities, living in small, isolated bands, come to develop such sophisticated methods of fishing? Was the knowledge of these fish traps passed down through generations, or was it shared among different groups through some form of contact or exchange? Was there a single cultural hub, or perhaps multiple, where such knowledge originated and spread? Or is it possible that these innovations were developed independently in different regions, each society arriving at the same solution through trial and error? One theory, proposed by some archaeologists, is that these fish traps were not simply tools for survival, but also held a ritualistic or spiritual significance. In some cultures, fish were considered sacred animals, symbols of fertility, abundance, and renewal. Could these traps have been used in ceremonial contexts, perhaps as offerings to water gods or spirits believed to inhabit the rivers and lakes? There are no clear answers, but the sheer complexity of these structures suggests that they may have held meaning beyond mere practicality. Another intriguing possibility is that these fish traps were part of a broader, interconnected network of survival strategies that extended across Ice Age Europe. The vast stretches of frozen land that separated different human groups would have made long-distance travel difficult, but the proximity of freshwater lakes and rivers might have allowed for regional trade networks to form. Early humans, living on the margins of survival, would have needed to share not only resources, but knowledge. Knowledge about how to catch fish, how to survive the harsh winters, and how to protect their families from the elements. These networks may have allowed for the exchange of ideas and innovations, helping to create the intricate designs of the fish traps found across the continent. There are still other, more speculative theories to consider. Some have even suggested that the use of fish traps in the Ice Age might be linked to larger, more complex rituals or social structures that we have yet to fully understand. Could these fish traps be connected to early forms of social organization, or even the beginnings of agriculture, long before the advent of settled farming societies? Were they part of an early push toward domestication, not of plants or animals, but of the very waters that surrounded these ancient communities? As fascinating as these theories are, they remain speculative. The true purpose and meaning behind the fish traps of the Ice Age remain largely a mystery, hidden beneath the surface of time. What we know for certain is that early humans were not merely surviving in a world shaped by glaciers and shifting climates. They were thriving, innovating, and adapting in ways that continue to astound us today. Their legacy, embedded in the waters of ancient lakes and rivers, speaks to a resilience and resourcefulness that has long been overshadowed by the more dramatic stories of mammoths and cavemen. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the Ice Age, we are left with more questions than answers. The discovery of these ancient fish traps is a reminder that there is still so much we do not know about the people who lived in those distant times. What other hidden tools and technologies might be waiting to be uncovered, and how might they reshape our understanding of human history? The Ice Age still holds many secrets, and perhaps some of its most intriguing mysteries are yet to be discovered. As we venture deeper into the frigid landscapes of the Ice Age, one of the most iconic and enigmatic creatures comes into focus: the woolly rhinoceros. With its thick coat of fur, enormous curved horn, and robust body, this formidable animal was once a common sight across the steppes of northern Europe, Asia, and North America. But despite its prevalence, the woolly rhino has remained wrapped in a veil of mystery, with much of its life and sudden extinction still unexplained. What led to its disappearance? How did it live? And what role did it play in the complex ecosystem of the Ice Age? The woolly rhino, scientific name Coelodonta antiquitatis, roamed the Earth from the Pleistocene epoch until its extinction roughly 10,000 years ago. Fossils of these creatures have been found across the cold, desolate regions of Siberia, Mongolia, and even Alaska. One of the most astonishing discoveries occurred in 2007, when a remarkably well-preserved specimen was unearthed in the permafrost of Siberia. Frozen in time, this ancient rhino appeared almost as if it had died just recently. Its fur still intact, its flesh preserved by the relentless cold. The sight was nothing short of breathtaking. A creature of the Ice Age, nearly perfectly preserved for millennia, offering an unprecedented glimpse into a world that had long since vanished. The discovery of this ancient woolly rhino sparked renewed interest in the creature, but it also raised many questions. What did this animal's life look like? How did it survive in the harsh, frozen environment? And, perhaps most intriguing of all, what caused its eventual disappearance? Despite the clarity of its physical remains, the answers to these questions remain elusive, and scientists have been left to unravel the woolly rhino's story through a complex combination of fossils, genetic analysis, and educated conjecture. The most straightforward explanation for the woolly rhino's existence centers around the adaptation to the frigid climate of the Ice Age. With temperatures plunging to extremes, the woolly rhino evolved a thick, insulating coat of fur, which covered its body like a natural blanket against the cold. Its large, powerful frame was also suited to the harsh environment. The animal's robust legs, capable of bearing heavy weight, and its broad, stocky body were ideal for navigating the frozen tundra, feeding on the tough grasses and shrubs that made up its diet. Its immense horn, though primarily used for defense against predators, might have also played a role in foraging, helping the animal to push through thick snow or to dig for food beneath the ice and snow. The presence of these animals in areas such as Siberia suggests that they were highly adapted to life in the Ice Age steppes. The tundra, with its sparse vegetation and frigid temperatures, could sustain large herbivores like the woolly rhino, provided they could roam vast distances in search of food. Fossilized remains suggest that these animals lived in herds, much like modern-day rhinos and other large herbivores, offering protection from predators such as the saber-toothed tiger and the ancient cave lion. In this environment, the woolly rhino was both a vital part of the food chain and a symbol of the raw power of the Ice Age fauna. However, the woolly rhino's disappearance around 10,000 years ago, at the end of the last Ice Age, remains a point of contention among researchers. The most widely accepted explanation attributes their extinction to a combination of climate change and human hunting. As the planet warmed and the ice sheets retreated, the once pristine habitats of the woolly rhino began to shrink. The lush, grassy plains they once roamed were replaced by forests and other environments that were not as hospitable to these massive herbivores. As the climate changed, so did the availability of food, forcing the woolly rhino to migrate or adapt in ways that, ultimately, it could not. But the story does not end there. While climate change is certainly a plausible explanation, it does not fully account for the rapid disappearance of the woolly rhino. It is here that more speculative theories come into play. Could human hunting have played a larger role in the extinction of the woolly rhino than we once thought? Evidence suggests that early humans did indeed hunt these creatures, as fossilized bones and ancient tools have been found near the remains of woolly rhinos. But the question remains, were humans the primary cause of their extinction, or did other factors, like the eruption of a volcanic superevent or a shift in the migration patterns of other species, contribute? One particularly intriguing aspect of this mystery lies in the preservation of woolly rhino remains in the permafrost of Siberia. Some have proposed that the sudden freezing of the land, possibly triggered by a rapid climate shift, could have led to the near instantaneous death of these animals. The woolly rhino might have been caught off guard, its populations devastated in a matter of months or even weeks. Is it possible that these animals were victims of a sudden environmental catastrophe rather than a slow, gradual extinction? The discovery of the perfectly preserved specimen in Siberia offers another possible clue. The fact that this animal's body was so well preserved, with its fur and flesh intact, hints at a sudden death, perhaps due to a cataclysmic event. But what could have caused such an event? Was it an unusually harsh winter, an unexpected natural disaster, or something even more extraordinary? An event so powerful that it left no survivors, freezing an entire species in its tracks. Some researchers have even speculated that a comet or asteroid impact might have triggered rapid climate change, disrupting ecosystems and causing the extinction of multiple species, including the woolly rhino. While this theory remains speculative, it serves as a reminder that there are still many unanswered questions about the forces that shaped the end of the Ice Age. Then there is the mystery of the woolly rhino's genetic legacy. The well-preserved remains found in Siberia provided scientists with a rare opportunity to extract DNA from the animal, and preliminary results have revealed some fascinating insights. While the woolly rhino's closest living relatives are the modern rhinoceros species, there are subtle differences in its genetic makeup that suggest it may have been far more resilient to cold than we once thought. Some scientists believe that there may still be traces of the woolly rhino's DNA lurking in the DNA of modern rhinos, or perhaps even in the genomes of other species that coexisted with it. Could the woolly rhino be a ghost in the genetic code, a reminder of an ancient world that lingers just beneath the surface? Despite the many discoveries and theories, the woolly rhino remains one of the great mysteries of the Ice Age. Its extinction, once thought to be a simple matter of environmental change and human hunting, now appears far more complex. woven into the tapestry of a shifting world that we are still struggling to understand. The fate of the woolly rhino raises questions not only about the animal itself, but about the larger forces at play during the end of the Ice Age. The mysterious events, the rapid changes, and the uncertain future of the creatures that shared the Earth with early humans. Perhaps the true answer lies not in any single explanation, but in a combination of forces, some known, some unknown, that led to the demise of this extraordinary creature. Could there be more to the woolly rhino's story, still hidden beneath the layers of ice, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself? The mystery endures, challenging us to look deeper into the past and to wonder what other secrets might still lie frozen in time. As the vast ice sheets of the Pleistocene epoch began to retreat, new worlds emerged from beneath the frozen landscape, giving rise to the first human inhabitants of North America. These early peoples, the ancestors of the Native American tribes, began to carve their place in the wild, uncertain terrain. Among them, one group stands out, not only for their remarkable accomplishments, but also for their mysterious disappearance: the Clovis people. Named after the town of Clovis, New Mexico, where their distinctive stone tools were first discovered in the 1930s, the Clovis culture flourished around 13,000 years ago. These people are credited with being among the first to enter the Americas, crossing the land bridge from Asia into what is now Alaska. From there, they spread rapidly across the continent, leaving behind evidence of their presence in the form of finely crafted projectile points, large game hunting tools, and the remains of massive animals that once roamed the land. The Clovis people are often depicted as early hunters and gatherers, their tools enabling them to hunt now extinct megafauna, such as mammoths and mastodons. Their distinctive fluted stone points, often referred to as Clovis Points, were a technological marvel for their time, suggesting an advanced understanding of stoneworking and hunting techniques. These points were used to tip spears, which were then thrown with deadly accuracy, making them highly effective against the enormous animals that roamed the Ice Age landscapes. But as suddenly as the Clovis culture appeared, it seemed to vanish. By around 12,700 years ago, the archaeological evidence of the Clovis people abruptly disappears. Their distinctive tools, once found in abundance across the continent, seemed to vanish from the archaeological record almost overnight. What happened to them? Where did they go? And why did they disappear so abruptly? For decades, the prevailing theory among archaeologists was that the Clovis people simply evolved, with their culture gradually replaced by new groups of people and technologies as the climate continued to warm. This view suggests that the Clovis people, like many other ancient cultures, adapted to changing conditions and were absorbed into the larger wave of human migration that followed the end of the Ice Age. However, the more researchers have delved into the mystery, the more questions have arisen, casting doubt on this simple narrative. One of the most significant clues in this puzzle comes from the very megafauna that the Clovis people hunted. At the time of their disappearance, many of the large animals they depended on for food, including mammoths, mastodons, and giant ground sloths, also began to vanish. The sudden extinction of these animals is still a topic of fierce debate among scientists. Was it the result of overhunting by early humans, as some have suggested? Or was there a more catastrophic, sudden event that led to the extinction of the megafauna and the fall of the Clovis culture? Some scientists believe that the disappearance of the Clovis people is directly tied to what is known as the Younger Dryas event, a sudden and dramatic return to near-glacial conditions that occurred around 12,800 years ago. This abrupt climate shift, thought to have lasted for roughly 1,000 years, could have disrupted ecosystems across North America, leading to the collapse of megafauna populations and forcing the Clovis people to adapt or die. The Younger Dryas is widely believed to have been triggered by a massive influx of fresh water into the North Atlantic Ocean, possibly caused by the collapse of an ice dam, which altered ocean currents and dramatically cooled the northern hemisphere. The younger Dryas theory is compelling, but it does not fully explain the disappearance of the Clovis people. If climate change were the sole factor, why would some groups have survived while others perished? And why did the distinct Clovis culture suddenly fade from the archaeological record, leaving little trace behind? It is here that alternative theories begin to emerge. One such theory, still highly speculative, suggests that a comet impact may have played a role in the sudden disappearance of the Clovis people. Some researchers have proposed that around the time of the younger Dryas, a comet or a cluster of fragments may have struck the Earth, igniting massive wildfires, causing widespread climate disruption, and leading to the extinction of both megafauna and the Clovis people. Proponents of this theory point to evidence of a layer of iridium and nanodiamonds found in several Clovis Age archaeological sites, substances often associated with extraterrestrial impacts. They argue that a cometary event could have triggered a global ecological crisis, decimating both the large animals and the human populations that relied on them. However, the comet impact theory is far from universally accepted. Critics argue that the evidence for a comet impact is not conclusive, and some of the supposed impact markers, like the iridium layer, could be the result of other, more mundane geological processes. In the absence of a definitive smoking gun, many researchers are cautious about endorsing the comet theory, preferring to focus on more conventional explanations, such as climate change and the pressures of overhunting. Yet another possibility suggests that the disappearance of the Clovis people was a result of cultural transformation rather than extinction. Perhaps after surviving the harsh conditions of the Ice Age, the Clovis culture gradually evolved into new groups, adopting different technologies and survival strategies. These new groups may have integrated with other early human populations, leading to a cultural shift that left behind little evidence of the original Clovis way of life. This theory suggests that the Clovis people did not disappear so much as they were absorbed into the broader migration patterns of early humans in the Americas, leaving behind no distinct trace of their culture in the archaeological record. But why then do we see such a sharp break between the Clovis culture and the subsequent cultures that emerged in the Americas? If the Clovis people simply evolved into other groups, why is there such a conspicuous gap in the archaeological record, with no discernible continuity between the two? The shift from the Clovis culture to the so-called post-Clovis cultures remains one of the greatest puzzles in the study of ancient America. Another theory, one that remains on the fringes of mainstream thought, suggests that the disappearance of the Clovis people may be linked to a societal collapse. Could it be that the Clovis people were part of a larger, more complex social structure that suffered a rapid and violent decline? Perhaps internal conflict, warfare, or even disease played a role in their sudden disappearance. The fact that we have so little evidence of their social structures, despite their impressive tools and artifacts, leaves us wondering what we may have missed about the complexity of their society. Each of these theories offers a potential explanation for the mysterious disappearance of the Clovis people, but none of them fully accounts for the evidence, or lack thereof, that we have. The sudden vanishing of the Clovis culture remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the Ice Age, leaving us with more questions than answers. Was it the result of a natural catastrophe, like climate change or a comet impact? Or did the Clovis people gradually fade into obscurity, leaving behind only fragments of their once thriving culture? As we continue to dig deeper into the archaeological record, the true fate of the Clovis people may eventually come to light. But for now, the mystery remains unsolved. What happened to the Clovis people? And what might their disappearance tell us about the forces shaping human history at the close of the Ice Age? As we look to the past, we are reminded that some questions may never be fully answered. But the search for answers is what keeps us looking deeper into the shadowy folds of ancient history. As we delve deeper into the ancient landscapes of North America, one site stands out for the undeniable mystery it holds. White Sands, located in the heart of the New Mexico desert. Stretching for miles across a vast, shimmering landscape of gypsum sand dunes, White Sands is a place of stunning beauty and quiet isolation. But beneath its seemingly serene surface lies a story that defies conventional understanding, a story that challenges everything we thought we knew about human history in the Americas. In 2009, a discovery here would forever alter our perceptions of when and how humans first arrived on the continent. At first glance, White Sands seems like just another stretch of desert. But beneath the sands, ancient evidence waits to be uncovered. Beneath layers of dry dust, the shifting dunes hide remnants of a far older world. Among these remnants are human footprints, preserved in the gypsum-rich soil. They are not just any footprints. They are footprints that appear to be more than 20,000 years old. In an area where we typically expect to find evidence of life from the Holocene era, these prints challenge the timeline of human migration across the Americas. The discovery of these ancient footprints was made in the early 2000s, when archaeologists working in the region stumbled upon what appeared to be human tracks in the soft, alkaline soil. These footprints, some of which were preserved in exquisite detail, were found alongside those of long-extinct megafauna, including mammoths and giant sloths, leading to a shocking conclusion. Humans were living in North America thousands of years earlier than previously thought. The age of these prints has been dated to roughly 23,000 years ago, placing human presence in the Americas long before the rise of the Clovis culture, which has long been considered the first wave of human migration across the continent. The implications of this discovery are profound. For decades, the prevailing theory of human migration to the Americas held that people arrived via the Bering Land Bridge, a land connection that spanned from what is now Siberia to Alaska. This migration, according to mainstream archaeology, took place around 13,000 years ago, with the Clovis people as the earliest known group to have settled in the Americas. But the footprints at White Sands force us to reconsider this timeline. If humans were in North America 23,000 years ago, how did they get there? And what does this say about our understanding of the first waves of human migration? The footprints at White Sands are not isolated. They are part of a larger and increasingly complex puzzle. Other evidence found in the area, such as the remains of ancient lakes, animal tracks, and signs of early human activity, suggests that this was a place where early humans hunted, foraged, and interacted with the megafauna of the Ice Age. The question arises, if humans were indeed here this early, how did they live? Were they following the herds of mammoths and bison, or were they part of an even earlier, more mysterious migration pattern that we have yet to fully understand? The discovery of these footprints opens a door to a host of new questions. For instance, how did humans manage to survive in the harsh, cold climates of Ice Age North America? What tools or technologies did they use to hunt such large creatures? These questions have prompted a reevaluation of early human capabilities, suggesting that the people who left their footprints in White Sands may have been far more advanced than we previously believed. Their ability to navigate the cold, hostile terrain, to interact with the megafauna of the time, and to create tools for survival speaks to a level of sophistication that challenges the conventional view of early humans as simple, primitive hunters. Yet, despite the significance of the White Sands discovery, the true origins and identity of the people who left these footprints remain shrouded in mystery. The footprints appear to be part of a much larger and more intricate story, one that includes a complex web of early migrations, interactions with various environments, and an evolving understanding of survival in the harshest conditions. The evidence suggests that the first humans to inhabit North America were not just passive observers of the Ice Age world. They were active participants, carving out lives and stories on a land that was still being shaped by glaciers, shifting climates, and the giants of prehistory. The dating of the White Sands footprints is one of the most controversial aspects of this discovery. Many scientists agree that the footprints are indeed ancient, but some remain skeptical about the precise age and the methods used to establish it. Could these prints have been created by humans, or could they be the result of other factors, like natural erosion or the movements of animals? While carbon dating of associated plant material has placed the prints at least 23,000 years old, the method of dating remains contentious, with critics arguing that further evidence is needed to confirm the exact timing. In addition, there is the question of who these people were. If they were not Clovis, then who were they? Some researchers have suggested that they could have been part of an even earlier migration, one that followed a route across the Pacific rather than the Bering Land Bridge. Could early humans have arrived by sea, traveling down the west coast of the Americas in boats, following the coastline and reaching lands now submerged beneath rising sea levels? This idea challenges the conventional land bridge theory and suggests a more complex and varied picture of how humans arrived in the Americas. The footprints also raise questions about the possible interactions between early humans and the megafauna they shared the land with. In some cases, human prints appear to overlap with the tracks of mammoths, bison, and giant ground sloths, suggesting that these ancient people were walking alongside and possibly hunting these majestic creatures. But could there have been more to these interactions than simple survival? Could these early humans have developed a deeper connection with the animals they hunted, perhaps even a spiritual or symbolic relationship? The presence of distinctive artifacts found in other parts of the White Sands area, such as stone tools, could suggest a deeper level of cultural sophistication and a more complex relationship between humans and their environment than we might expect. While some may be inclined to dismiss the White Sands discovery as a mere anomaly, the evidence continues to grow. The footprints at White Sands, alongside other artifacts and fossils, challenge us to rethink our understanding of the first human migrations in the Americas. The notion that humans were present on this continent thousands of years earlier than previously believed forces us to confront the very foundations of our knowledge. Were these early humans simply lost to time, their story forgotten until the footprints were uncovered once more? Or do they represent a piece of a far larger, more complex story, a story that still awaits discovery beneath the shifting sands of White Sands? The mystery of the White Sands footprints remains far from solved. As scientists continue to explore and debate the significance of this remarkable discovery, we are left with more questions than answers. Who were these ancient travelers? How did they survive in such a harsh environment? And, perhaps most importantly, what other secrets still lie buried beneath the dunes, waiting to be uncovered? As we continue our journey through the Ice Age, we must wonder what other hidden clues lie just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. The vast, windswept plains of the Ice Age were home to some of the most extraordinary creatures the world has ever seen. Among them, the mammoth, towering, shaggy beasts that roamed the northern continents in herds, left a profound mark on the landscape. Their colossal forms, with their long, spiraling tusks and dense coats, have become symbols of an era long gone. Yet, despite their dominance in the prehistoric world, the extinction of the mammoth remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of the Ice Age. What led to their sudden disappearance? Was it a gradual process, or did some cataclysmic event wipe them from the earth? The last population of mammoths, the woolly mammoths, once roamed across the frigid steppes of Europe, Asia, and North America. Their fossils, preserved in the permafrost of Siberia and Alaska, are not mere relics. They offer a haunting glimpse into a world that is now nearly lost to time. Frozen carcasses, some of which are astonishingly well preserved, have been unearthed by the thawing of the permafrost in recent decades, with intact muscle tissue, hair, and even milk still visible in the remains. The fact that these mammoths were preserved in such detail speaks to the harshness of their world and the suddenness with which they disappeared. But what caused their extinction? Was it the changing climate, the pressure from human hunters, or something even more elusive? The most widely accepted explanation for the extinction of the mammoths involves climate change. As the Ice Age came to an end around 10,000 years ago, Earth's climate began to warm, and the once expansive glaciers that had covered much of the northern hemisphere started to recede. With this warming came the transformation of the landscape. The lush, cold-loving vegetation that supported the mammoth's diet began to shrink, and the vast, open steppe was replaced by dense forests and shifting ecosystems. For a species that thrived in the cold, the transition to a warmer, more unpredictable climate was a death sentence. Without the grassy plains and cold climates they were adapted to, mammoths struggled to survive. But if climate change were the sole cause, why did some species survive, while others, like the mammoth, perished? And why did some populations, particularly those living on isolated islands like Wrangel Island in the Arctic, persist until as recently as 4,000 years ago? This raises the possibility that something more complex was at play, something beyond climate change alone. The theory of overhunting by humans adds another layer to the mystery. As humans spread across the globe, they encountered the mammoths in the vast wilderness of Ice Age landscapes. Archaeological evidence suggests that early humans hunted these massive creatures, not only for food, but for their hides, bones, and tusks, which were used to create tools, shelter, and art. The arrival of human hunters in mammoth territory could have put immense pressure on these populations, particularly as humans developed more sophisticated hunting techniques. Spear points, many of which are thought to be designed specifically for killing large animals like mammoths, have been discovered at various sites, providing evidence of direct human involvement in the extinction process. Some researchers argue that overhunting, in combination with climate change, could have led to the collapse of the mammoth populations. This theory is compelling, particularly when considering that many of the mammoth's natural predators, like Sabretooth cats and dire wolves, had already disappeared by the time humans arrived on the scene. With no natural checks on their population, the mammoths may have been more vulnerable to human predation. In this view, the extinction of the mammoth was not a sudden event, but rather a slow decline brought on by a combination of changing environmental conditions and hunting pressure. However, not all scientists agree with the theory of overhunting. Some argue that while humans certainly played a role in mammoth extinction, it was not the primary factor. According to this view, the warming climate and changing ecosystems would have been sufficient to drive the mammoths to extinction, even without the added pressure of human hunting. After all, many other large animals of the Ice Age, such as the mastodon and the giant ground sloth, also disappeared around the same time, suggesting that the extinction event was part of a broader ecological collapse. Yet, the fact that some mammoths persisted in isolated regions, like Wrangel Island, where a small population survived for thousands of years after the main extinction event, complicates this theory. How could these mammoths have endured in a much smaller environment, far removed from human hunters? Could there have been other environmental factors at play, perhaps ones we do not yet fully understand? Some researchers have speculated that disease, in particular, could have played a role in the extinction of the mammoths, especially in the wake of climate-induced stress. Pathogens that evolved alongside these creatures may have spread quickly when the mammoths were weakened by climate change or other factors, leading to their eventual collapse. Another possibility, though still controversial, is the idea that the extinction of the mammoth could have been triggered by a cataclysmic event, such as a comet impact. This theory, which has gained some traction in recent years, posits that a comet or asteroid strike could have caused a global environmental disaster, igniting fires, releasing large amounts of debris into the atmosphere, and triggering a sudden cooling event. One similar to the Younger Dryas, a period of rapid cooling around 12,800 years ago. This would have had devastating effects on the mammoths, disrupting their habitat and food sources, leading to their extinction. While there is some evidence to suggest that such an event might have occurred, including traces of unusual minerals found in the layers of sediment from around the time of the extinction, the theory remains highly speculative and has not been widely accepted by the scientific community. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the mammoth extinction is the question of why they disappeared so suddenly, leaving behind little more than bones and tusks. Unlike other species that gradually evolved or migrated, the mammoth seems to have vanished almost overnight from much of the planet. Was it the culmination of multiple factors? A combination of climate change, human hunting, disease, and ecological upheaval that pushed these magnificent creatures beyond the brink? Or was there some other, more elusive cause that led to their rapid demise? As we look at the remains of the mammoths that have been preserved in ice and permafrost, the mystery only deepens. The frozen carcasses, perfectly preserved in the cold, serve as a haunting reminder of a lost world, one in which these towering giants once roamed. And yet, even with all the evidence at our disposal, we are still left with a nagging question. Why did the mammoth disappear? And what does its extinction tell us about the forces that shaped the Ice Age world? With each new discovery, we come closer to understanding the true story of the mammoth's extinction. But the final chapter remains unwritten, and perhaps it always will be. The mammoth, like so many other creatures of the Ice Age, has left behind only shadows and echoes in the sands of time. The mystery of their disappearance endures, waiting for us to uncover what might still be hidden beneath the frozen ground, waiting to reveal the secrets of a world that once was. As we move deeper into the mysteries of the Ice Age, we encounter one of the most enigmatic creatures to have roamed the vast frozen landscapes of North America, the Ice Age bison. This formidable species, distinct from its modern counterparts, roamed the steppe in herds, navigating the harsh, cold terrain that stretched across the plains from Alaska to Mexico. Larger and more robust than the bison we know today, the Ice Age bison was one of the giants of its time, a symbol of survival against the odds. But as with many other creatures of this period, their fate raises questions that have yet to be answered. The Ice Age bison, often referred to as Bison priscus, was not just a passive inhabitant of the cold plains. It played a central role in the ecosystems of the time. These creatures were massive, standing nearly 6 feet at the shoulder, with thick, woolly fur and powerful horns that could be used to defend against predators or rivals. They lived in large herds, moving across the tundra in search of the sparse vegetation that could survive in the frozen landscape. Their migration patterns and social structures remain a subject of fascination for researchers, who have uncovered both the physical remains of these animals and the remnants of their environments, including fossilized plants and animal tracks that paint a vivid picture of their lives. Despite the abundance of fossil evidence, however, the story of the Ice Age bison is far from clear. One of the most intriguing aspects of their existence is the mystery surrounding their extinction. While many megafauna species from the Ice Age, such as the mammoth, vanished at the close of the Pleistocene, bison are unique in that they survived well into the Holocene, adapting to the changing climate and environment. But what led to the extinction of the Bison priscus, and why did their modern descendants, the plains bison, survive, while their ancient cousins disappeared? The first question that arises is whether climate change was the primary driver behind their extinction. As the Ice Age drew to a close, the planet warmed, and the great glaciers that once covered much of the northern hemisphere began to retreat. The lush, cold-loving grasses that supported the Ice Age bison began to disappear, replaced by warmer vegetation that could not sustain such large herbivores. However, the timeline of their extinction suggests that climate change alone might not have been enough to wipe out the bison population entirely. While the environmental changes were significant, the bison's relationship with early human populations could have been an equally important factor. Archaeological evidence points to early humans hunting bison, with tools and weapons found alongside remains of bison at numerous prehistoric sites. Early humans, equipped with sophisticated hunting methods, could have hunted the bison to near extinction. But there's a complication. While humans certainly hunted bison, the archaeological record does not suggest that their hunting practices alone caused the disappearance of the species. Instead, some researchers propose that it was the combination of human hunting and climate change that led to the collapse of the Ice Age bison populations. The bison, already struggling with the changing landscape, might have been pushed past their tipping point by the pressures of overhunting. But even this hypothesis raises questions. Why did bison populations on the American plains survive for thousands of years after the end of the Ice Age, while the more ancient populations of Bison priscus vanished? One possibility lies in the concept of isolated refuges. As the Ice Age ended, large swaths of the landscape became inhospitable to the bison, but smaller, isolated pockets of suitable habitat may have remained. Small refuges where bison populations could survive longer than elsewhere. One such refuge is believed to be Beringia, the land that once connected Siberia and Alaska. The colder, more stable conditions here may have allowed the bison to persist in small numbers, much like the mammoths that lingered in remote parts of the Arctic. It's possible that the Ice Age bison survived in these isolated regions long after they vanished from the wider continent. However, not all researchers agree with the idea of isolated refuges. Some suggest that the extinction of Bison priscus might have been more abrupt, triggered by a series of ecological factors that we may not fully understand. Some propose that diseases, perhaps newly introduced pathogens brought by humans or other animals, could have swept through bison populations, weakening their ability to survive the changing climate. This idea, though speculative, raises interesting questions about the vulnerability of large herbivores to sudden environmental shifts and the role that disease may have played in the broader extinction event at the end of the Pleistocene. Another mystery surrounding the Ice Age bison is the role they played in the landscape itself. Evidence suggests that bison were not just passive grazers. They actively shaped their environment. They are believed to have played a critical role in maintaining the tundra steppe ecosystem by grazing on grasses and other plants, preventing the spread of woody vegetation. This in turn kept the landscape open and allowed a variety of other species to thrive. When the bison disappeared, did this lead to changes in the landscape, contributing to the collapse of other Ice Age species? Or did the environment change so drastically that it would have been impossible for any species to survive, no matter how well adapted? As we examine the fossil record and the remnants of these animals, we are left to wonder how the story of the Ice Age bison fits into the larger puzzle of Pleistocene extinctions. Why were they among the giants that did not survive the end of the Ice Age? Was their fate sealed by climate change, human influence, or a combination of both? And perhaps most intriguingly, what can their story teach us about the fragility of ecosystems in times of rapid environmental change? The mystery of the Ice Age bison persists. The bones that lie buried beneath the earth hold only fragments of answers, and with each new discovery, new questions arise. What was their true relationship with humans, and how much of their survival was tied to the complex dynamics of climate and hunting pressure? Were they simply victims of a changing world, or did they face challenges we are yet to fully comprehend? Perhaps, like the mammoths and the saber-toothed cats, the Ice Age bison's disappearance is a reflection of something more profound, a glimpse into the forces of nature and time that can forever alter the course of life on Earth. And perhaps, just as with the mammoths, the final pieces of the puzzle are still buried beneath layers of earth waiting to be uncovered, to reveal the full story of a creature that once dominated the Ice Age landscape. As the ice sheets receded and the winds of change swept across the North American landscape, a new people began to emerge, one whose survival depended on tools forged from stone, bone, and wood. Among the most intriguing remnants of this ancient culture are the Clovis Points, distinctive, finely crafted spearheads that have become synonymous with the first humans to inhabit the Americas. Found across the continent, these sharp, fluted points tell a story of innovation, survival, and mystery. But as with many artifacts from the distant past, the true significance of the Clovis Points remains shrouded in uncertainty. The Clovis Points are easily recognizable, with their long, tapering shape and characteristic flute, a shallow groove carved into the base of the point, which would fit into a spear shaft. They were made from high-quality stone, such as chert or obsidian, and were expertly shaped using a technique called flint knapping, in which the stone was struck with precision to create sharp, jagged edges. The craftsmanship of these tools suggests not only the skill of their makers, but also the challenges they faced in the harsh, unforgiving environments of the Ice Age. These points were likely used by early humans to hunt large game, such as mammoths and mastodons, though they have also been found alongside the remains of smaller animals, indicating a varied hunting strategy. Their widespread distribution across North America, found in archaeological sites from New Mexico to Florida and Canada, suggests that the Clovis people were not a single tribe or community, but a widespread, mobile population. Yet, despite their ubiquity in the archaeological record, the exact origins of the Clovis culture and how these people came to inhabit the Americas remain one of the greatest mysteries in the study of prehistory. The traditional view of the Clovis people is rooted in the idea that they were the descendants of humans who crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia into North America around 13,000 years ago at the tail end of the last Ice Age. This migration, often referred to as the Clovis First theory, posits that the Clovis people were the earliest known inhabitants of the Americas, their distinctive spear points marking their presence as they spread across the continent. The theory has long been the cornerstone of the field, offering a neat and orderly explanation for the human settlement of the New World. But recent discoveries have begun to challenge this conventional narrative. In the past few decades, researchers have uncovered evidence suggesting that humans may have arrived in the Americas earlier than previously thought. Sites such as Monte Verde in Chile and Cactus Hill in Virginia have yielded stone tools and other artifacts that predate the Clovis culture by thousands of years. Some researchers even suggest that the Clovis people may not have been the first inhabitants of the Americas at all, but rather one of several groups who arrived at different times and whose influence was eventually overshadowed by the spread of the Clovis culture. The idea that the Clovis people may not have been the first is further complicated by the discovery of pre-Clovis sites, where tools have been found alongside animal remains that suggest human occupation of the Americas long before the Clovis Points began to appear. But if humans were already in the Americas before the Clovis people, who were they? And why are the Clovis Points so dominant in the archaeological record? Was there a dramatic shift in the technological and cultural landscape around 13,000 years ago? Or did the Clovis people simply leave a more lasting imprint on history? Theories abound, but no clear answer has emerged. One of the most perplexing aspects of the Clovis Points is their sudden appearance and their equally sudden disappearance from the archaeological record. The Clovis culture flourished for a relatively short period, roughly between 13,500 and 12,500 years ago, after which the distinctive points seemed to vanish almost as quickly as they arrived. Some researchers speculate that this decline could be linked to the rapid extinction of megafauna at the end of the Ice Age, animals such as the mammoth, mastodon, and giant ground sloth. These species, which were heavily hunted by the Clovis people, began to disappear around the same time that the Clovis Points became less common. Was the decline of the Clovis culture simply a result of the loss of their primary prey? Or was something more complex at play, such as changes in climate, technology, or social structure? Another theory posits that the Clovis Points may represent a form of cultural evolution rather than a single, isolated group. In this view, the Clovis people may have been part of a larger and ongoing process of technological development, one that saw the gradual refinement of tools as humans adapted to the challenges of the Ice Age. If the Clovis Points were indeed an evolutionary step, then their disappearance might have been part of the natural progression toward the diverse range of toolkits used by later cultures. But even the tools themselves, the iconic Clovis Points, raise more questions than answers. In recent years, a growing body of evidence suggests that these points might not have been the only technology used by early human populations. Some researchers have found signs of pre-Clovis spear points, fashioned using techniques distinct from the Clovis method, suggesting a diversity of tool-making traditions among early humans in the Americas. The questions this raises are not just about the technology itself, but about the social structures and cultural connections of the people who made these tools. Were there multiple groups, each with their own unique approach to survival? And if so, what might this tell us about the early history of human migration and settlement in the Americas? The mystery of the Clovis Points is further compounded by their extraordinary craftsmanship. Fluted points like these are rare, and the technique used to create them is considered a hallmark of the Clovis people. The precision involved in creating these tools would have required an intimate knowledge of both the materials being worked with and the techniques of flint knapping. The fact that this technique appeared so suddenly, with no clear precursors or obvious development, suggests that the Clovis people possessed a level of sophistication that was both impressive and puzzling. Could the Clovis people have acquired their knowledge through interaction with other groups? Or was their technology a result of independent innovation, a leap in tool-making that emerged in response to the demands of hunting and survival in the Ice Age landscape? And if it was independent innovation, why did it seem to occur so suddenly, without any discernible precursor? As we look at the Clovis Points and ponder their mysteries, we are reminded that history, especially the early prehistory of human migration, is not always as linear as we might wish. Each discovery raises new questions, some of which may never be fully answered. The Clovis Points, while they speak volumes about the people who made them, also serve as a reminder of the complexities of the past, a time when survival was a constant struggle against both nature and the unknown. The mystery of the Clovis people and their iconic points remains unresolved. What caused their rise to dominance? Was their disappearance the result of natural or human-made forces? And perhaps most intriguingly, who were the people who preceded them, and how did they shape the world that the Clovis people would inherit? As with so much of the ancient past, the answers are elusive, and the questions continue to echo through time, urging us to look deeper into the past, to uncover what might still be hidden beneath the surface. As the ice sheets began their slow retreat, revealing vast plains and river valleys, the landscape was not only shaped by nature's forces, but also by the hand of early humans. Far from being passive inhabitants of this frozen world, they actively engaged with it, creating art that has lingered through millennia. Some of the most enigmatic and captivating remnants of this ancient era are the Ice Age rock paintings, which are scattered across remote caves and cliff faces, hidden in plain sight for thousands of years. One such site is the famous Chauvet Cave in southern France, where the walls are covered with dozens of paintings, images of lions, rhinoceroses, horses, and other Ice Age animals that once roamed the earth. The Lascaux Caves, also in France, contain vivid depictions of bison, horses, and deer, their forms captured in motion as though frozen in time. These caves, along with others like Altamira in Spain, have been called the Sistine Chapels of the prehistoric world. Yet, despite their beauty and sophistication, the true meaning and purpose of these paintings remain a profound mystery. The first question that arises when encountering these masterpieces is simple yet profound. Why did these early humans choose to leave their mark on the world in this way? What compelled them to engage in such complex and intricate artwork in an age when survival was the sole focus? The obvious answer might be that these paintings were ritualistic or symbolic, an effort to understand or control the world around them. But the deeper we look, the more these explanations seem to fall short. The age of these paintings is often a point of fascination and debate. The most widely accepted dating places these artworks at over 30,000 years old, though some argue they may be even older, predating the arrival of modern humans in Europe by thousands of years. The use of carbon dating on the charcoal used in these paintings has yielded these dates, placing them firmly within the Upper Paleolithic period, a time when humans were still living in small, mobile groups, struggling to survive in a harsh and often unforgiving environment. However, despite their age, the craftsmanship of these paintings is strikingly sophisticated. The animals are not depicted in static poses, they are shown in motion, often mid-charge or mid-hunt, lending a sense of life and energy to the scenes. The artists who created these works had an intuitive understanding of anatomy, capturing the curves of a bison's muscular frame or the lean form of a lion. Some paintings even depict multiple layers, as if the artists were revisiting the same wall over time, adding to or reinterpreting their images. These nuances suggest that the artists were not only talented but highly attuned to the animals they hunted, observing them in such detail that they could replicate their movement with stunning accuracy. But beyond the aesthetic beauty and technical prowess of these paintings lies a much deeper mystery. What was the purpose of this art? Was it a simple form of expression, or did it hold a deeper, more significant meaning for those who created it? One of the most compelling theories suggests that the paintings were part of a ritualistic practice aimed at invoking the spirits of the animals or seeking their favor. The sympathetic magic theory posits that early humans believed by painting an animal they could influence its behavior or ensure a successful hunt. This idea is supported by the fact that many of the animals depicted in these caves were important sources of food, such as mammoths and bison, suggesting that these paintings may have been connected to hunting rituals or attempts to gain control over the animal world. Another intriguing possibility is that these paintings held a deeper, more spiritual meaning. The shamanistic theory suggests that the artists were not just creating images for practical purposes, but were involved in altered states of consciousness, perhaps induced by hallucinogenic substances or by long hours of isolation in the dark, deep recesses of the caves. The belief is that the artists were trying to communicate with the spirit world, depicting their visions in the hopes of connecting with forces beyond the natural world. This theory is supported by the fact that many of the caves where these paintings are found are often deep within the earth, far removed from the sunlight, which could have created a sense of ritualistic separation between the human world and the world of the spirits. Some researchers even suggest that the paintings could have been part of a more cosmological framework, with the animals and their positions on the cave walls aligning with a sacred geography or the passage of time. Certain motifs, such as the depiction of bison, elk, or other animals in rows or in relation to each other, might represent the movement of celestial bodies or cycles of nature, suggesting that these images were more than mere depictions of the natural world, but were reflections of an early understanding of the universe itself. The exact nature of these cosmological associations remains speculative, but the presence of animals often seen together or in sequential positions on the cave walls lends some weight to the idea that these paintings were not random but deeply intentional. While these explanations offer some insight into the motivations behind Ice Age rock art, they also raise new questions. What, for example, explains the sudden emergence of such intricate art forms? Why did early humans, in a time of survival and adaptation, dedicate so much effort to creating these visual representations of animals? And why do the paintings often focus on predators and prey, rather than human figures or other aspects of daily life? Some researchers have even suggested that the absence of human figures in these paintings might suggest an early attempt to distance the human world from the animal world, as if the artists were reluctant to portray themselves alongside the very creatures they hunted. Or perhaps the absence of human figures reflects an early taboo against depicting the self, a concept that would later be explored in the symbolic art of later cultures. The implications of these paintings stretch beyond the caves themselves. Evidence from other regions suggests that similar art may have been created across much of Ice Age Europe, from the Pyrenees to Russia, indicating that these practices were not confined to one area or culture, but were part of a wider, shared human experience. This raises the question: were these paintings a universal form of communication across different groups? Or were they part of a wider, pan-European religious or cultural tradition? If so, what can we learn from this shared symbolic language? And what might it tell us about the connections between early human cultures across vast distances? As compelling as these theories are, they remain speculative. No definitive answers have emerged to explain the Ice Age rock paintings. The artworks themselves, stunning as they are, do not come with a guidebook or instructions. They are silent, offering no direct commentary on their meaning or their creator's intent. Their mystery, however, only adds to their power, leaving us to wonder what still lies hidden in the shadows of these ancient caves. In the end, the Ice Age rock paintings remind us of the deep, unbroken connection between humans and the world around them, a connection that transcends time and speaks to our primal instincts. These ancient images are not just relics of the past, they are echoes of a world that, while long gone, continues to shape our understanding of ourselves and the ancient people who walked before us. What were they trying to convey? And what secrets do these painted walls still hold? The mystery remains, inviting us to look deeper, to search the darkness of the caves, and to wonder what else might still be waiting to be discovered. The icy landscapes of the Alps, with their towering peaks and remote valleys, are among the most enduring and mysterious places on Earth. For thousands of years, glaciers have carved deep grooves into the mountain ranges, creating an ever-changing environment where nature's forces conceal remnants of the past. But it's not just the natural world that these frozen landscapes have preserved. Buried within the thick layers of ice and rock are artifacts that defy easy explanation, objects that, when uncovered, challenge our understanding of the Ice Age and the early humans who navigated these harsh environments. The discovery of these strange Ice Age artifacts in the Alps has sparked both excitement and skepticism. These relics are not mere tools or everyday objects. They are items of seemingly advanced craftsmanship that suggest a level of skill and cultural complexity much greater than we would expect from early humans living in such a demanding environment. One of the most significant discoveries came in the Ötztal Alps, near the border between Austria and Italy, where in 1991 a mummified body was uncovered by two hikers. The body, later named Ötzi, was remarkably well preserved, and the items found with him were equally revealing. The bundle of artifacts he carried, including a stone axe, a bow and arrows, and a copper axe, all seemed to point to a person who had knowledge of metalworking, suggesting a far more complex society than previously imagined for this time period. But perhaps even more perplexing than the well-crafted tools themselves was the sudden appearance of Ötzi's body, frozen in ice, his fate wrapped in mystery. How did a man from such an ancient era end up frozen in the Alps? What had he been doing so high in the mountains? And what do his possessions reveal about the level of technological sophistication available at the time? As more studies are conducted on Ötzi's remains and artifacts, questions continue to surface about whether his tools were made by people in the area or if they belonged to a group that had access to advanced technologies far beyond the expected reach of Ice Age humans. This discovery is part of a broader pattern. Over the years, numerous artifacts have been found in the Alps, not just in Ötzi's immediate vicinity, but across the mountain range, in areas once covered by glaciers. Many of these items have been preserved by ice, offering a snapshot of a lost world. Stone tools, bone needles, and woven baskets have all been uncovered, suggesting that Ice Age humans were far more resourceful and adaptable than we tend to give them credit for. Yet, it's not just the tools and everyday objects that make these discoveries so fascinating. Some of the items found in the Alps hint at much more puzzling possibilities. Intricate carvings, ceremonial objects, and even evidence of ancient ritual practices have surfaced. Objects that seem to belong to a sophisticated spiritual or cultural tradition. Could these objects point to a system of belief that we have yet to fully understand? Were these early humans developing complex mythologies or religious practices that laid the foundation for later civilizations? If so, what exactly were they trying to communicate or achieve with these symbolic objects? One artifact found in the Alps is a bone flute believed to be over 40,000 years old, made from the leg bone of a bird of prey. The delicate craftsmanship of this instrument suggests that its maker possessed not only an advanced understanding of materials, but also a sense of artistic expression. The fact that it was found in such a remote area, so far from the likely sources of the bird, raises questions about how far these ancient people traveled and how connected they were with distant groups. The flute also suggests that music, a fundamental form of expression, was not an afterthought, but an integral part of their culture. Could the creation of music be linked to religious or ceremonial practices? Was the act of playing the flute a form of ritual communication with forces unseen? Another puzzling discovery in the Alps came in the form of a ceremonial knife made from polished flint, dated to the Magdalenian period, a time long before the appearance of modern civilizations. The knife is decorated with elaborate patterns, unlike anything seen in typical utilitarian tools. Some experts believe that it was used in religious rites or possibly even as part of shamanistic practices, with the intricate carvings representing symbols of power or status. But if that's the case, why was it found in a remote alpine cave, far from the centers of human habitation? Perhaps even more intriguing are the bone fragments that were found alongside these tools, leading some researchers to suggest that the site was a sacred burial ground. These bones show signs of ceremonial treatment, with some exhibiting traces of ritualistic carvings or wear patterns that would not be typical for a simple burial. Were these people attempting to honor the dead in a way that we can no longer fully comprehend? Or were they preserving the bones for some other unknown purpose? Adding to the intrigue is the question of why these artifacts were so carefully preserved in the ice. Could the mountains themselves have been acting as a sort of time capsule, preserving ancient objects and clues to an early human world that we might have never understood without the ice? The extreme cold of the Alps would have kept these objects intact, but it also raises another, equally fascinating question. Why were these items abandoned or hidden in such isolated areas? Some scholars speculate that these items may have been intentionally placed in the mountains as part of a ritual journey, perhaps a form of rite of passage for young members of the community. Others suggest that these items could have been lost during a desperate flight from danger, possibly an environmental catastrophe or an invasion by a competing group. Yet still others propose that the mountains themselves held symbolic value, a place between worlds where the spiritual and the physical merged. And it's not only the artifacts themselves that are puzzling. There's something about the specific locations where these objects have been found that also raise questions. Many of the discoveries have been made in caves and rock shelters located at high altitudes, often near ancient glaciers. Why would early humans, known for their adaptability but also their need for survival, place so many of their most precious possessions in such inhospitable places? Was it a practical decision? Or was there a deeper, more symbolic reasoning behind these decisions? The answers remain elusive. These strange Ice Age artifacts found in the Alps, like the flute, the ceremonial knife, and the ritualistic bones, may hold clues to a world far more complex than we can fully appreciate. They may be relics of a forgotten spiritual tradition, or they could represent a cultural evolution that we have yet to fully comprehend. What, if anything, do these objects tell us about the people who created them? And why, after so many thousands of years, are they just now coming to light? As we explore these ancient remnants, the mysteries only grow deeper. The Alps, with their glaciers and caves, continue to be a repository of secrets from the past, secrets that may never fully reveal themselves. And as we uncover these strange artifacts, we are left with one resounding question. What might still be hidden beneath the ice, waiting to be discovered? High above the Arctic Circle, in the frozen expanse of Greenland, lies an extraordinary scientific treasure, an ice sheet that stretches over 1.7 million square kilometers, one of the largest and most ancient ice caps on Earth. Beneath its vast surface, layers of snow and ice have accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years, preserving in their frozen depths a record of Earth's climate history. For decades, scientists have drilled into this ice, extracting cores that provide an unprecedented look into the distant past. These cores are like frozen time capsules, revealing atmospheric data, dust particles, and even traces of ancient gases that have been locked in the ice for millennia. However, amid these remarkable findings, Greenland ice core data has also presented researchers with enigmatic anomalies, puzzles that do not fit neatly into our current understanding of Earth's climatic history. Some of these anomalies appear to suggest that the planet's climate has undergone rapid, unpredictable shifts in ways that science cannot fully explain, leaving researchers questioning the hidden forces that may have shaped our world in the ancient past. One of the most puzzling aspects of the Greenland ice cores is the sudden temperature spikes observed at various points in Earth's history. These abrupt warming events, known as Dansgaard-Oshger events, have been documented in multiple ice core samples, and they show temperature fluctuations of up to 15 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Celsius, in a matter of decades, something that, based on modern climate models, seems almost impossible. In some cases, these dramatic shifts occurred during the last ice age, when the Earth was supposed to be in the grip of a deep, long-term cold period. How could such rapid warming have happened? And what caused it? One of the most startling examples of this phenomenon comes from an ice core drilled in the Greenland Dome region, a high-altitude part of the Greenland ice sheet. Here, researchers discovered evidence of a temperate climate, with temperatures rising sharply during a time when, according to prevailing models, the Earth was experiencing glacial conditions. This climate anomaly suggests that regional warming events might have occurred, despite the overarching cooling trend. Could these events have been caused by changes in the Earth's ocean currents, or perhaps by the shifting orbital patterns that govern the planet's climate over long periods of time? Or is there a factor at play, hidden in the layers of the ice, that we have yet to identify? The most intriguing part of the Greenland ice core data, however, lies in the chemical composition of the ice itself. Researchers have discovered unusual concentrations of certain gases, such as methane and carbon dioxide, locked deep within the ice. These gases are known to be potent greenhouse gases, and their sudden appearance in significant quantities at various points in Earth's past raises questions about the climatic drivers of these events. The standard explanation for such gases is that they are released from oceans, where the warming of waters leads to the release of dissolved gases into the atmosphere. However, the scale and speed of these releases, as evidenced by the Greenland ice cores, suggest that something much more dramatic may have been at play. Could there have been a massive volcanic eruption, or even a meteor impact that triggered these sudden releases of greenhouse gases? Could a major geological event beneath the Earth's surface have destabilized the planet's natural systems, causing a spike in atmospheric gases? As if the temperature spikes and unusual gas releases weren't enough to baffle scientists, the ice cores have also revealed evidence of rapid climate shifts that correspond with key moments in human history. One of the most startling patterns is the connection between major glacial retreats and the emergence of early human civilizations. During the Younger Dryas, a period of abrupt cooling that occurred approximately 12,000 years ago, ice core data shows a dramatic shift in the Earth's climate. This event, which lasted for about 1,300 years, plunged the planet back into an ice age just as human societies were beginning to develop. But, remarkably, the end of the Younger Dryas also coincides with the rise of agriculture and the formation of some of the world's earliest cities. Could this sudden shift in climate have been a catalyst for the rapid development of human societies? Or was it the culmination of a long period of environmental stress that forced early humans to adapt in new and unexpected ways? Some scientists have speculated that the warming at the end of the Younger Dryas allowed human populations to settle and thrive in previously inhospitable areas. But this raises an important question. Was the rapid warming a natural event, or could it have been caused by something more mysterious? Perhaps a massive celestial event, such as a meteor shower, that affected the Earth's atmosphere and environment in ways we can't fully grasp. One particularly intriguing anomaly in the Greenland ice cores is the appearance of metallic particles, which have been found in the layers of ice from various time periods. These particles are unlike anything typically associated with natural processes. Platinum and iridium, two metals commonly linked to meteorite impacts, have been found in unusual concentrations in the ice, suggesting that extraterrestrial forces may have played a role in these climatic events. Could the sudden warming and cooling events documented in the ice cores be linked to a series of asteroid or comet impacts that altered the Earth's atmosphere, triggering massive temperature shifts and releasing gases into the atmosphere? The ice cores seem to tell a story of celestial objects striking the Earth at pivotal moments in our history, but the evidence remains inconclusive. Could the Greenland ice caps hold the answer to questions about the cosmic events that might have shaped human history? Or are we seeing only a faint glimpse of a much larger story? Perhaps even more perplexing is the persistence of the anomalies. Over the years, researchers have drilled hundreds of cores from Greenland's ice sheet, each one revealing slight variations in temperature, gas concentrations, and even the presence of exotic elements. These anomalies suggest that Earth's climate system is not as stable as we once believed. Could these fluctuations be a natural part of Earth's climate cycle, or is there something more at play? Could there be a hidden variable, something still undiscovered, that is causing these strange shifts in climate? The questions surrounding the Greenland ice core data are not only scientific but philosophical. What if the abrupt climate events documented in the ice cores are evidence of something much more profound than we understand? Could the forces that shape the Earth's climate be connected to cycles that we have yet to fully comprehend? Cycles that stretch back to the very formation of the solar system? What other forces, perhaps hidden within the depths of the Earth or even beyond, might be influencing our planet's climate in ways we cannot yet measure or detect? As scientists continue to analyze the ice cores and seek answers to these mysteries, one thing becomes clear. The secrets of the Greenland ice sheet are far from being fully revealed. With each new discovery, we are left with more questions, more possibilities to explore. And as the ice continues to melt, revealing deeper layers of history, we can only wonder what else might lie buried beneath its frozen surface, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to answer the mysteries that still remain. What other secrets do the ice cores hold? And might the answers to Earth's most profound climate mysteries still be hidden, waiting to challenge everything we thought we knew? As we continue our exploration of the enigmatic world of the Ice Age, we find ourselves turning to the tools left behind by those who lived through it. Tools that offer an unprecedented glimpse into the daily lives of early humans. But just as the ice preserved so much of the past, it also holds within it a mystery that has yet to be fully solved. What do these Ice Age tools really tell us? And what exactly do they reveal about the advanced capabilities of the people who crafted them? One of the most intriguing aspects of Ice Age tools is their sheer variety. From flint spearheads and scrapers to more complex implements that suggest highly developed knowledge of materials and techniques, these tools represent the ingenuity and survival instinct of the people who relied on them. Most of the tools discovered in archaeological sites across North America, Europe, and Asia appear to belong to the Upper Paleolithic period, roughly between 40,000 and 12,000 years ago. The significance of these tools, however, isn't solely in their function. They offer us more than just an insight into the practical aspects of Ice Age life. They raise questions about how these early humans were able to craft such precision instruments with seemingly limited technology. Take, for example, the Clovis Points, finely crafted stone spearheads found in the Americas, often associated with the mysterious Clovis culture. These tools are known for their elegant craftsmanship, with sharp edges and finely honed symmetry, suggesting that their creators had an intimate knowledge of aerodynamics, tool-making techniques, and material science. But the mystery is not just in their precision, it's in their sudden appearance. The Clovis culture seems to have emerged fully formed, with advanced tool-making techniques appearing almost overnight. How could such a sophisticated society arise, seemingly out of nowhere? And what knowledge did these people possess that we still have not fully understood? The question of where these advanced techniques came from is compounded by the geographical spread of Ice Age tools. As humans migrated across continents, they left behind evidence of similar tool-making techniques that are puzzling in their consistency. In Europe, tools such as bone needles, awl-like instruments, and chisels suggest a highly developed understanding of craftsmanship and materials. Meanwhile, in Siberia and the Arctic, evidence of the use of ivory and bone for tool-making, often combined with stone, points to highly sophisticated production methods that are far from what one might expect from groups living in such extreme environments. How did people from such varied regions all develop similar techniques? Could they have shared knowledge across vast distances, perhaps via ancient migration routes that we have yet to uncover? Or were these advancements simply the natural progression of human ingenuity as societies adapted to the Ice Age conditions? But it's not just the technological sophistication of Ice Age tools that raises questions. It's also their mysterious origins. Archaeologists have discovered tools that defy easy categorization. Tools that suggest the people of the Ice Age might have had knowledge of materials and methods far more advanced than we currently understand. Take, for instance, the discovery of bone needles in a cave in France, dating back over 30,000 years. These fine, delicate needles were used for sewing hides and creating clothing, a skill that would have been essential for survival in the cold. However, the precise techniques involved in their creation, how they were carved and shaped, seem to imply that the people who made them were not only skilled craftspeople, but also deeply knowledgeable about the tools they used. One of the most puzzling aspects of the Ice Age tools found in some areas is their longevity. While most of the tools were designed for practical use, some have been found in contexts that suggest a symbolic or ritual significance. Could some tools have had purposes beyond survival? Could certain objects have been used as part of ceremonial practices or even to mark significant events in the lives of these people? The intricacy of some of these artifacts raises more questions than it answers. How could early humans, living in harsh conditions, struggling for survival, have developed such an awareness of symbolism, and how did this awareness shape their tools and daily lives? Then there is the strange case of the stone tools found in Africa, Asia, and the Americas, which seem to have been used for cutting and shaping bone in ways that suggest a highly advanced understanding of biomechanics. Some researchers suggest that these tools might even indicate a hunting technique that involved strategic cooperation, a far more complex social structure than we typically associate with Ice Age hunter-gatherers. Could these early societies have had a sophisticated understanding of group dynamics, similar to modern-day animal groups, and used this knowledge to create tools that enhanced their chances of survival? Beyond these more conventional theories, there are a number of fringe hypotheses that suggest even deeper mysteries surrounding Ice Age tools. One such theory proposes that the advanced tool-making techniques could have been passed down from an ancient lost civilization, a civilization that predates the known human migrations into the Ice Age. Could the people of the Ice Age have inherited their knowledge from an earlier society that had mastered skills we have yet to uncover? If so, where did this society come from, and why was it lost to history? Additionally, the diversity of materials used in tool-making adds another layer of mystery. In some cases, Ice Age tools were crafted not only from stone and bone, but also from more unusual materials, including antler, teeth, and even wood. Some objects have been found with decorative carvings, suggesting that these people might have had an appreciation for art and beauty, adding another dimension to the enigma of Ice Age societies. Could these tools have been used for purposes beyond the mundane, perhaps for rituals, personal adornment, or even as status symbols within early human communities? The evidence for these artistic tools is scattered, and many of the artifacts are fragmented, leaving us with only glimpses of what might have once been. Yet the sheer diversity of tools found across Ice Age sites suggests that human ingenuity during this period was far more complex than we often give credit for. From bone awls to stone scrapers and flint knives, these tools reveal a people not only concerned with survival, but also with the desire to leave something behind, a legacy that would be preserved in the cold, waiting for future generations to uncover. One of the most enduring questions surrounding Ice Age tools is the simple one: how? How did early humans manage to craft such precise and effective tools with what seemed like limited technology? And, more intriguingly, how did they preserve and pass down this knowledge over generations, despite the constantly changing and unforgiving environment they inhabited? Were there lost methods and materials that we have yet to discover, waiting to be unlocked in some forgotten corner of the earth? As we stand on the edge of this mystery, we are left with more questions than answers. The Ice Age tools speak to a time long past, a time when humanity was forging its path in a world that was rapidly changing. And though many of the answers may never be fully revealed, the artifacts left behind continue to intrigue, offering us just enough of a glimpse to wonder what might still be hidden beneath the ice, waiting to be discovered. What knowledge do these tools hold that we have yet to comprehend? And what mysteries about the early human experience are still hidden in the most unlikely of places, waiting for us to unlock them? The answers, it seems, may be closer than we think, or they may remain forever buried in the cold silence of time. As we shift our focus from the Ice Age cave lion to another iconic predator of the ancient world, we encounter one of the most fearsome creatures ever to roam the earth, the saber-toothed tiger, or Smilodon. With its colossal canine teeth, powerful build, and muscular frame, the saber-tooth epitomized the ferocity of the Ice Age. But, like so many of its contemporaries, the saber-tooth eventually disappeared. And just like the cave lion, its extinction is a subject of intense debate and mystery. What caused the fall of one of the most successful apex predators of the Pleistocene? And why did it vanish so abruptly? Imagine the scene. A vast open plain, a landscape frozen by the harshness of the Ice Age, where mammoths roam in massive herds, bison gallop across the steppe, and the wind howls across the tundra. Amid this world of primal survival, the saber-toothed tiger stalks silently, its sharp, elongated canines glistening in the dim light of a setting sun. Its form is almost otherworldly, far larger than any modern cat, its body built for stealth, power, and speed. Unlike today's lions or tigers, the saber-tooth didn't chase its prey across miles of savanna. It preferred to strike quickly, using its immense strength to bring down its prey with a well-timed pounce. The saber-tooth's impressive weapons, the long, razor-sharp teeth, are the most striking feature of its appearance. These sabers could reach lengths of up to 7 inches, 18 centimeters, perfectly designed to slice into the flesh of large prey. But they weren't just for show. The saber-tooth used these jagged tools to pierce the necks or throats of its prey, making quick, lethal kills. Despite its fierce and seemingly indomitable nature, the saber-tooth's reign was not meant to last forever. This predator, so well suited to the Ice Age environment, met its mysterious end along with many other megafauna. What happened? The conventional explanation points to a familiar culprit, the climate shift that marked the transition from the Ice Age to the Holocene, around 10,000 years ago. As the climate warmed and ecosystems changed, the vast grasslands and open forests that supported large herbivores shrank, and with them the food sources for the saber-tooth. As prey became scarcer, the predator's chances of survival diminished. But this explanation, while plausible, doesn't fully answer the question of why such a perfectly adapted predator disappeared so suddenly. The saber-tooth was not alone in its habitat, after all. The world was still home to large predators, such as the cave lion, wolves, and even the ancient hyena, which survived long after the saber-tooth was gone. Could there have been something else, something more catastrophic at play? One of the most intriguing possibilities is that the saber-tooth's extinction might not have been entirely due to environmental change, but rather a combination of factors, including human hunting practices. While it's clear that the saber-tooth was a formidable predator, it might have been vulnerable in ways we don't fully understand. The humans who lived during the same period, known as Paleo-Indians, had a sophisticated relationship with the environment. They were capable hunters, and the evidence of tool use and spear points suggests that they were quite adept at bringing down large animals. Could it be that early humans, in their struggle for survival, hunted the saber-tooth to extinction? There's some evidence to support this theory. Archaeological findings from around the world show that early humans hunted large prey, sometimes with remarkable success. Some researchers believe that spear points have been found embedded in the remains of saber-tooths, suggesting that these predators might have been targeted by humans in a way that accelerated their decline. But the evidence is far from conclusive, and it raises as many questions as it answers. Could humans have played a role in the extinction of the saber-tooth? Or is this theory just another attempt to explain a mystery that science has yet to fully grasp? Another theory that has emerged in recent years suggests that the saber-tooth may have been affected by competition with other apex predators. As the Ice Age ended and ecosystems shifted, The adaptability of other carnivores, particularly wolves and early canids, might have played a significant role in driving the Sabretooth to extinction. While the Sabretooth was an extraordinary predator, it had a specialized hunting style that relied on the ability to ambush its prey. This made it highly effective against certain animals, but it also limited its ability to adapt to changes in prey availability or competition from other predators. Wolves, on the other hand, are more versatile, capable of hunting in packs and adapting to a wider range of prey. As the environment changed, could it be that the Sabretooth's specialization became its undoing, while more generalist predators, like wolves, flourished in the New World? Interestingly, some researchers argue that genetic factors could have contributed to the Sabretooth's extinction. The saber-toothed tiger was part of the genus Smilodon, and although it was highly successful for a time, it might have faced genetic bottlenecks that limited its ability to evolve and adapt. Some scientists speculate that as climate changes reduced the number of saber-tooths, their genetic diversity became too small, leading to inbreeding and a loss of crucial traits. Could this genetic weakening have been just as significant a factor in their disappearance as the changing environment? Then there's the more esoteric question. Could the saber-tooth have been a victim of a cosmic event, like a meteor strike, that caused widespread environmental devastation? It may sound like the stuff of science fiction, but there's evidence that, in Earth's distant past, impacts from comets or asteroids caused significant disruptions in the planet's ecosystems. Could the saber-tooth have been wiped out by one of these cosmic catastrophes in combination with the natural changes of the era? Could it have been a perfect storm of climate change, human hunting, and environmental disaster that led to its downfall? But perhaps the most puzzling question of all remains. Why, after its extinction, has the saber-toothed tiger left such a profound mark on the human imagination? Countless representations of the saber-tooth appear in art, literature, and mythology, suggesting that this predator was more than just a fearsome creature. It was a symbol, a creature imbued with mystery and power. Today, even as science digs deeper into the causes of its extinction, we are left with more questions than answers. The saber-toothed tiger's sudden disappearance is a riddle that has yet to be fully unraveled. Was it the slow march of climate change? Or did something more abrupt, something we can only begin to understand, play a role in its extinction? Could humans have been more responsible than we think? Or did the saber-tooth's highly specialized hunting techniques leave it vulnerable to the changing world? Or perhaps most unsettling of all, could the answers lie hidden in the unexamined corners of history, waiting for the right breakthrough to finally reveal the true cause of its demise? Like so many other mysteries from the Ice Age, the disappearance of the saber-toothed tiger raises more questions than it answers. And just as the saber-tooth once roamed the frozen landscape, so too does its mystery continue to stalk the minds of those who seek to understand the forces that shaped our ancient past. As we move forward in our exploration of Ice Age enigmas, we are left to wonder, what truly happened to one of the most powerful predators to ever walk the Earth? The answer, it seems, is still buried in the icy sands of time. As we shift our gaze from the saber-tooth's tragic end, we find ourselves stepping into the heart of a landscape that seems almost as ancient and enigmatic as the Ice Age itself. Tucked away in the southeastern United States, the Carolina Bays are an intriguing puzzle that has fascinated scientists and mystery seekers for decades. These odd, elliptical depressions scattered across thousands of square miles of land are not only visually striking, but their origins remain deeply mysterious. The Carolina Bays stretch across North Carolina, South Carolina, and parts of Georgia, Virginia, and Maryland, with their numbers estimated to be well over 500,000 individual bays. Each one is characterized by its smooth oval shape, oriented in the same general direction, toward the northeast. These depressions vary greatly in size, from just a few feet wide to as much as several miles in length. Some are shallow, while others are quite deep, creating a dramatic contrast with the surrounding land. Their size and shape make them stand out, but it's not just their scale that catches the eye, it's the mystery of how they came to be. For many years, the mainstream scientific explanation was that these formations were the result of erosion, a process of natural weathering caused by wind and water over time. However, this explanation doesn't fully account for several key features. Why are they so uniform in shape and orientation? Why do they stretch across such a vast expanse of land? And why do they seem to appear in areas with specific geological conditions, rather than forming randomly across the landscape? Some researchers have suggested that these depressions are the result of ancient glacial activity, possibly tied to the retreat of glaciers at the end of the Ice Age. However, while glacial scarring is common in the northern parts of North America, the Carolina Bays are far south of the reach of the last glacial maximum. The evidence doesn't fully support the idea that glaciers carved these depressions into the land. So, if not ice, what else could explain such peculiar formations? One of the most compelling, yet still debated theories comes from the possibility of a cosmic impact. Could the Carolina Bays have been created by fragments of a comet or asteroid that struck the Earth thousands of years ago? This hypothesis suggests that a massive cosmic object, possibly a comet or a large fragment of a comet, broke apart as it entered the Earth's atmosphere. The resulting impact would have created a series of explosions, leaving behind these perfectly elliptical depressions in the landscape. Interestingly, this theory finds some support in research into the younger Dryas event, a mysterious cold snap that occurred around 12,800 years ago. This event, marked by a sudden and dramatic drop in temperatures, is thought to have had significant impacts on Earth's climate, possibly triggering the extinction of many Ice Age creatures. Some researchers suggest that the cause of the younger Dryas may have been linked to the impact of a comet, and that the Carolina Bays could be remnants of this same catastrophic event. The shape and alignment of the bays themselves lend some credibility to this hypothesis. Many of the Carolina Bays are oriented in a way that suggests they could have been created by blasts of force coming from a single direction, perhaps from the impact of objects falling from the sky. Some researchers have even identified evidence of shockwave patterns around the bays, which could support the idea that the impact of a comet fragment could have created these formations. But the cosmic impact theory is not without its detractors. Skeptics point out that the evidence for such an impact is still insufficient. While there have been traces of high-pressure minerals found near some of the bays, these findings aren't conclusive proof of a cometary impact. Moreover, other factors, like wind erosion or fluvial processes from rivers and streams, could also be responsible for their shape and distribution. Could it be that the Carolina Bays were simply formed over time by forces of nature that we don't fully understand yet? There are also those who suggest that the Carolina Bays could be the result of prehistoric flooding, perhaps created by massive storms or tidal surges that occurred as the Earth's climate fluctuated. This theory posits that at some point in the distant past, rising sea levels could have submerged large areas of land, leaving behind depressions that were later shaped and refined by wind and water over millennia. But this idea, too, has its limitations. If the Carolina Bays were truly the result of floods, why are they so consistently elliptical? And why are their orientations so uniform across such vast distances? Another, more speculative theory suggests that the Carolina Bays could be the remnants of some ancient spiritual or ceremonial site, an architectural phenomenon left behind by an unknown culture. Some fringe theorists have proposed that the elliptical shapes were intentionally designed and might have had some form of astronomical significance. Perhaps ancient humans, long lost to history, were responsible for carving these depressions into the earth for reasons we can only imagine. While this idea has no solid archaeological evidence to back it up, it adds an intriguing layer of mystique to an already mysterious landscape. Could these formations have a hidden purpose, one that we've yet to fully comprehend? Despite the wide range of theories, one thing is clear. The Carolina Bays are far from understood, and while science has offered several potential explanations, none of them fully account for all the peculiarities of these formations. They remain an enduring puzzle, one that speaks to the profound mysteries still hidden in the Earth's ancient past. What makes the Carolina Bays so compelling is that they embody a broader question about the Ice Age itself. How much of our planet's history is still waiting to be uncovered? The ice that once covered much of the Earth has long since receded, but what remains beneath the surface, whether in the form of landscapes, artifacts, or hidden impacts, continues to shape our understanding of a world that existed long before us. The Carolina Bays may have been shaped by forces we are only beginning to grasp, whether natural or cosmic, and they serve as a reminder that our planet is still a place of profound mystery. Could the Bays be part of a larger, still hidden chapter in Earth's ancient history, one that might help us piece together more of the puzzle of the Ice Age? As we continue our exploration of the unexplained forces that shaped the Ice Age, we are left with lingering questions about the Carolina Bays. What truly caused them? Were they the result of a cosmic event, a natural occurrence, or something else entirely? For now, we can only speculate, but the search for answers may uncover truths far stranger and more incredible than we could ever have imagined. After exploring the enigmatic formations of the Carolina Bays, we now find ourselves venturing into a natural phenomenon that, while less tangible, might have left an equally profound mark on the Earth's landscape. This mystery is one of seismic proportions, quite literally. Beneath the surface of the Earth, there exists evidence of a massive and largely unexplained event, one that shook the very core of the Ice Age environment, the gigantic glacial earthquake. To understand the significance of such an event, we must first imagine a time long before the stability we know today. Picture a vast frozen expanse stretching across the northern hemisphere, a world that seems to stand still in the quiet grip of an ice age. The ice sheets, immense and relentless, stretch thousands of miles from the Arctic all the way down to present-day North America and Europe. These glaciers, some miles thick, move with immense pressure, grinding and carving the land beneath them as they advance and retreat over tens of thousands of years. But the movement of such massive ice sheets didn't come without consequences. The tremors of a massive glacial earthquake would have rippled across this frozen world. Scientists have found evidence of seismic activity that suggests a large-scale earthquake was triggered by the sudden movement of glaciers, most likely during the transition between the peak of the last ice age and the warmer Holocene period around 12,000 years ago. What was this earthquake, and how did it shape the Earth's landscape? In many ways, this massive seismic event is still a mystery, one that science has only just begun to untangle. The evidence lies hidden beneath the soil, in the scars left behind by the shifting Earth. In some cases, these disturbances show up in the form of glacial earthquakes, seismic tremors caused by the movement of glaciers as they either advanced or receded. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for the existence of a gigantic glacial earthquake is the sudden and dramatic changes in the landscape. During the end of the Ice Age, as the glaciers began to retreat, it is believed that their weight and pressure caused tectonic shifts, displacing entire regions. In places where the glaciers had once rested, the Earth began to bounce back in what is known as isostatic rebound. This means that the land, having been compressed by the weight of the glaciers, slowly began to rise again once that weight was removed. However, in some cases, this process of recovery was violent, causing the ground to shake, crack, and even sink. In certain areas, evidence of this earthquake-like activity can be found in the form of disrupted sediment layers, as well as swaths of displaced rocks and fault lines that reveal the underlying forces at play. Geologists have discovered massive boulders, some weighing several tons, that appear to have been moved or tipped over by powerful forces, leaving behind clues of an ancient but still active seismic event. The mystery, however, deepens when considering the lack of a single, definitive explanation for the magnitude and distribution of these tremors. For some, the scale of this glacial earthquake may seem almost impossible to comprehend. The very nature of the Ice Age environment, frozen, heavy, and ever-changing, would have created a volatile landscape where seismic activity could be both subtle and catastrophic. It's tempting to think of earthquakes in terms of the violent shaking we associate with modern-day events, but the glacial earthquake may have been different in nature. Could the shifting glaciers have caused the land to buckle and roll in ways we still don't fully understand? Or did these seismic tremors leave behind clues that still haven't been discovered? One of the most intriguing aspects of the gigantic glacial earthquake is the theory of cascading environmental effects. If the land was suddenly shifted or rearranged, what other consequences would this have had on the climate, ecosystems, and human populations of the time? Would the shaking of the earth have caused the land to crack open and release gases, creating sudden climate shifts or triggering catastrophic floods? Could the earthquake have been one of the causes of the younger Dryas event, a dramatic and mysterious period of cooling that occurred around the same time? Moreover, there are some who have even speculated that the glacial earthquake may have triggered or contributed to the extinction of large Ice Age megafauna, such as the mammoth and the mastodon. The sudden upheaval of the earth could have caused massive disruption to the ecosystems that these creatures depended on, forcing them into rapid environmental changes that they were ill-equipped to handle. Could the movements of the earth have disturbed migration routes, water sources, or the availability of food? And might this have contributed to the eventual disappearance of species that had dominated the earth for millennia? There are also those who ask whether this glacial earthquake was part of something larger and more interconnected, a cascade of seismic and environmental events that led to the dramatic shifts of the Ice Age world. It's possible that the forces behind this earthquake were not isolated events, but part of a broader, global-scale series of movements, much like the sudden and unexplained changes that marked the younger Dryas or the mysterious extinctions of so many species at the end of the Ice Age. Perhaps most unsettling of all is the fact that despite the overwhelming evidence of these seismic disturbances, much about the gigantic glacial earthquake remains unknown. There are still few hard facts to explain exactly how or why the event occurred, how widespread the damage was, or whether it was truly the cause of some of the other dramatic shifts that marked the end of the Ice Age. It is clear, however, that the ancient tremors of the Ice Age shaped the very geography of the Earth, leaving behind physical scars and mysteries that continue to puzzle scientists today. These seismic events, and their far-reaching consequences, challenge our understanding of Earth's geological history and raise important questions about the forces of nature that shaped our planet. Could there be more hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? And what other cataclysmic forces from the past still remain in the shadows, beyond our current understanding? As we continue to peel back the layers of time and explore the complex forces that shaped the Ice Age, the mystery of the gigantic glacial earthquake serves as a poignant reminder that Earth's history is full of uncharted, unexplainable events, each leaving behind clues that may one day help us understand the true scale of the forces that shaped our planet. As we move further into the unknown reaches of Earth's ancient past, we find ourselves drawn once again to the vast, frozen wilderness of the Arctic. But this time, we are not exploring the familiar glaciers of ice and snow. Beneath the crushing weight of Alaskan glaciers, a buried world lies hidden. A world of ancient forests, teeming with life, frozen in time and obscured from our view for millennia. The existence of these forests, long trapped beneath layers of ice, raises a multitude of questions about our planet's changing environment and the remarkable, yet elusive, history that it holds. Imagine standing on the cold, windswept plains of Alaska, where jagged mountain ranges jut from the earth like ancient sentinels, casting shadows over the land. Above, the sky is often a pale gray, heavy with the promise of snow, while beneath your feet, the ice stretches endlessly. But beneath this frozen landscape, deep within the earth, something unexpected waits. Ancient tree stumps, entire forests of long-dead trees, and even traces of prehistoric animals. In an eerie paradox, these ancient relics are locked away, concealed beneath layers of ice and glacial rubble, yet once exposed, they raise a mystery that science has yet to fully explain. The discovery of these ancient forests beneath the Alaskan glaciers began in earnest when researchers found that large swathes of petrified wood, ancient plant matter, and even entire ecosystems had been preserved within the glacier's icy embrace. It's difficult to imagine, but these trees, some as much as 45,000 years old, were once part of a rich, lush environment. In an area that today might seem inhospitable and barren, there were once forests filled with towering trees, spruces, pines, and other now extinct species of vegetation, growing under the midnight sun of an earlier, warmer period. How could this be? How did such vibrant forests come to be preserved, hidden for so long beneath the thick layers of ice and snow that dominate the landscape today? The most widely accepted theory is that these forests existed during the interglacial period, the time between ice ages when the Earth was significantly warmer than it is now. The climate was different, more temperate, with abundant rainfall and milder winters. But over time, as the Ice Age began to advance, glaciers slowly crept southward, covering vast expanses of the land. In the process, these once thriving forests were buried beneath the heavy weight of ice, their ecosystems sealed off from the world. Yet, what makes these ancient forests so puzzling is the fact that they have been preserved remarkably well under the glaciers. The conditions of the ice itself, low temperatures, high pressure, and a lack of exposure to sunlight, created a kind of natural preservation chamber, effectively freezing the forests in time. The fact that such materials can be found, still intact and largely unspoiled, suggests that a highly precise combination of environmental factors was at play. It is almost as if the Earth itself decided to hide this prehistoric world, preserving it for a time when humanity would be capable of discovering its secrets. While much of this can be explained by the sheer power of nature and the long-term effects of glacial activity, some aspects of these ancient forests still defy explanation. What does it mean for our understanding of Earth's climatic history that such well-preserved forests, once vibrant with life, are buried under glaciers? The most straightforward explanation is that these forests grew during a warmer period, only to be encased in ice as the climate cooled. However, what remains unsettling are the irregularities and peculiarities found within some of the preserved trees and other plant life. In some instances, the growth patterns of these trees do not perfectly align with what would be expected from simple climatic shifts. Could these trees have been part of a more complex environmental event, one that scientists still do not fully understand? There have been those who suggest that the glaciers themselves may not have been the sole cause of the burial of these forests. Could there have been a cataclysmic event, such as an ancient volcanic eruption, that might have contributed to the sudden and rapid freezing of the landscape? It is known that volcanic activity can drastically alter local climates by spewing ash and particulate matter into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and causing sharp, sudden cooling. This could have caused the forests to rapidly die off and be buried beneath advancing glaciers, their remains preserved as the world around them became colder. Yet for all the theories, there is still little concrete evidence to support the idea of a volcanic event causing the abrupt burial of the forests. Still, the thought lingers. Could there be a larger, unknown factor that contributed to this event, one that caused such a rapid transition in the landscape? And why were these trees not simply recycled into the ecosystem in the way we would expect? Why were they preserved, sealed away in a moment of time as though waiting for someone to find them? What makes this mystery even more intriguing is the underlying connection to the megafauna that once roamed the region. Evidence suggests that the trees and plants within these ancient forests might have served as sustenance for large herbivores, such as mammoths, mastodons, and bison, which lived in the same environment. These megafauna, as we know, disappeared suddenly at the end of the Ice Age. Could the environmental shifts that led to the burial of these forests also have contributed to their extinction? Was it possible that these ancient forests, so essential to the thriving ecosystems, held the key to understanding the rapid disappearance of species? The question of timing is another enigma. Did these forests exist long before the Ice Age glaciers advanced, or did they develop in the years just before the climate shifted dramatically? Some scientists argue that the forests may have been thrust into a climate shift as glaciers slowly encroached upon the land, leaving little time for their ecosystems to adapt to the cold, unforgiving conditions. Could this sudden shift in climate have triggered the collapse of entire ecosystems, both plant and animal? Or perhaps the mysteries of these ancient forests offer more questions than answers, revealing that the story of Earth's climatic history is far more complex than we once thought. There is also a growing interest in the possibility that modern technology, such as satellite imaging and advanced carbon dating, could one day unlock even more of these secrets. Could we find other buried forests, perhaps even older or more diverse, waiting beneath the glaciers of Alaska and beyond? What stories might they tell us about Earth's ever-changing climate and its shifting landscapes? As the glaciers continue their slow retreat and climate patterns evolve, ancient forests beneath the Alaskan ice may continue to reveal their secrets, offering a glimpse into a world long forgotten. But the true nature of these forests, how they came to be buried, and what they can tell us about the past remains an ongoing mystery, one that continues to challenge our understanding of the natural world. The buried world under the glaciers still holds its breath, waiting for the next step in uncovering what might lie hidden beneath its icy surface. There are places on Earth where the marks of ancient events still linger, buried beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. The vast prairies of North America, stretching out in all directions, are home to many such secrets. And one of the most profound and mysterious events to unfold on this land was the draining of Lake Agassiz, an event that shaped the landscape in ways we are still trying to fully comprehend. Imagine standing in the heart of the Canadian plains, where the wind cuts across the flat expanse, carrying the scent of earth and grass. To the untrained eye, the land appears serene, unchanging, timeless, and perhaps even dull. But beneath the rolling plains, beneath the layers of soil, lies the ghost of a lost world. Lake Agassiz, once one of the largest freshwater lakes to ever exist on Earth, was vast, stretching across what is now the Canadian prairies, parts of Minnesota, and into the Dakotas. Its waters, which reached an estimated size larger than modern-day Lake Superior, once held the potential to alter the course of human history itself. Lake Agassiz was born from the melting glaciers at the end of the last ice age, some 12,000 to 14,000 years ago. As the glaciers retreated, they left behind enormous amounts of meltwater. Over time, this water pooled to form a massive lake, its shores shifting as glaciers continued their retreat northward. At its peak, Lake Agassiz stretched over an area of more than 440,000 square kilometers. It was a body of water so immense that, were it to exist today, it would rival the size of many small countries. But what is most puzzling about this lake isn't its size or the way it reshaped the surrounding land. It is the mysterious manner in which the lake drained. The event is known as the draining of Lake Agassiz, and it has become one of the greatest mysteries of the Ice Age. A cataclysmic event that may have played a role in shaping not only the environment but also human history itself. To understand the significance of the lake's draining, we must first explore the geological aftermath left behind. The waters of Lake Agassiz didn't simply drain slowly into the surrounding rivers, as we might expect from a body of water of that size. Instead, the lake experienced a violent, catastrophic release of water, a massive flood of biblical proportions. The scientific consensus is that at some point, the natural dams holding back the waters broke open in a sudden and dramatic collapse. What followed was a rush of water, which surged through the land with incredible force. The evidence of this flood is still present today in the landforms and deposits scattered across the northern United States and Canada. These lake spillways, as they are called, reveal the paths that the water carved through the landscape, leaving behind deep valleys, wide channels, and scattered debris. The landscape tells a story of destruction, one that happened so swiftly that it left little time for the ecosystems to adapt. In places like the Red River Valley, the scars of the lake's sudden outflow are especially clear. The land is marked by massive, water-cut channels, which seem to suggest the rapid escape of millions of tons of water. But this is where the mystery deepens. What triggered this sudden release? How did the dam holding back the lake's vast waters break so violently and so quickly? The mainstream explanation posits that the lake's waters were trapped behind a massive glacial ice dam, which held the water in place for thousands of years. Over time, the dam weakened, and eventually the ice dam gave way, unleashing an overwhelming torrent of water into the world. Some scientists argue that the ice dam melted gradually, allowing the water to escape in a more controlled, though still catastrophic manner. Others suggest that the collapse of the dam was sudden, occurring in an instant, sending water surging out like the uncorking of a giant bottle. Yet, even as this mainstream theory has gained traction, the precise nature of the collapse remains unclear. There are anomalies in the geological evidence that don't quite fit with the gradual melting hypothesis. For instance, some areas show signs of massive erosion and sediment deposition that would likely be consistent with a much more explosive release of water, rather than a slow and steady drain. This leads some researchers to consider alternative theories. Could the collapse of the ice dam have been triggered by something other than a gradual melting process? Could it have been caused by a catastrophic event, perhaps even the impact of a comet or asteroid, which caused the ice to shatter, releasing the lake's waters in a massive flooding event? Evidence for such an impact event remains speculative, but it does not entirely rule out the possibility that the draining of Lake Agassiz was not the result of a gradual environmental change, but instead a sudden, violent disturbance that changed the course of history in an instant. Some even propose a connection between the draining of Lake Agassiz and the global climate changes that followed. The massive influx of fresh water into the ocean could have had a profound impact on the Earth's climate systems, potentially triggering a dramatic cooling event known as the Younger Dryas. This period of abrupt cooling, which lasted for about 1,000 years, is thought to have altered global weather patterns and may have played a role in the extinction of megafauna, the large mammals that roamed the Earth during the Ice Age. Was the draining of Lake Agassiz a climatic tipping point, the catalyst that set off a chain of events that led to a sudden drop in temperatures? And if so, what does this say about the fragility of the Earth's climate system and the potential for catastrophic change? Perhaps most intriguing of all is the potential role this event played in shaping human history. Could the draining of Lake Agassiz have had an impact on the early human populations living in North America at the time? If the event was as sudden and violent as some suggest, could it have displaced ancient peoples or disrupted their way of life in ways we have not yet understood? The floodwaters could have easily wiped out settlements, changing the course of human migration and development in ways we may never fully know. As scientists continue to study the geology of Lake Agassiz's remnants, the unanswered questions remain. How exactly did the dam break? What were the true causes of the sudden release of water? And perhaps most haunting of all, what if the mystery of Lake Agassiz's draining is only one piece of an even larger puzzle, one that could reshape our understanding of Earth's ancient history? The full scope of the draining of Lake Agassiz remains a mystery wrapped in layers of time, waiting to be uncovered. And as the ice of the last ice age slowly recedes and the Earth continues to shift, we may one day find the final clues to this age-old enigma. Until then, the mystery endures, unanswered, unyielding, and still hiding beneath the surface, waiting for those willing to seek the truth. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing at the edge of a vast, ice-covered landscape. The year is around 12,900 years ago, the end of the Ice Age, a time when glaciers were still powerful and the Earth was in the midst of its transition from an era of freezing temperatures to the warmer conditions we know today. As you look across the land, everything appears to be in harmony. The glaciers slowly retreating, the animal herds migrating, and the environment gradually shifting toward a warmer, more temperate world. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary and unsettling is about to occur. Without warning, the climate, which had been steadily warming, suddenly plunges back into a deep freeze. For over 1,000 years, the Earth's temperature drops dramatically, sending much of the northern hemisphere back into a cold, harsh grip. Glaciers expand once more, and the world's ecosystems are thrown into disarray. This abrupt and violent shift in climate is known as the Younger Dryas, one of the most mysterious and profound climatic events in Earth's history. Stretching from about 12,900 to 11,700 years ago, the Younger Dryas marks an era of unexpected global cooling, an event so sudden and severe that it has puzzled scientists for decades. The term itself comes from a species of flower, the Dryas octopetala, whose fossilized pollen was found in sediment layers dating to this cold snap. This cold period interrupted what had been a steady warming trend following the end of the last ice age, a time when the Earth was already beginning to emerge from the grip of the glaciers. The precise cause of this dramatic climatic reversal remains a subject of intense debate. For many years, the Younger Dryas was simply viewed as an anomalous event, a brief, inexplicable blip in the gradual warming of the Earth. But over time, research has uncovered increasingly compelling evidence suggesting that the cooling may not have been a random occurrence at all. Instead, it could have been caused by a catastrophic event, one that altered the very course of history. The question that now hangs over this mysterious time period is, what triggered the Younger Dryas? The first clue comes from the Greenland ice cores, vast cylinders of ice drilled from the Greenland ice sheet, which serve as a remarkable record of Earth's climate history. These cores show a sharp temperature drop around 12,900 years ago, a clear signal that the Earth suddenly cooled by as much as 10 degrees, 18 degrees Celsius, in a very short period of time. The question, however, is why? One of the leading explanations involves the melting of the North American ice sheet. As the glaciers retreated, massive amounts of fresh water were released into the oceans, particularly into the Atlantic Ocean. This influx of fresh water may have disrupted the global ocean currents, particularly the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, AMOC, which is responsible for transporting warm water from the tropics to the northern latitudes. The AMOC is a vital part of Earth's climate system, helping to regulate temperatures across the globe. The introduction of large amounts of fresh water into the North Atlantic would have weakened or even halted the AMOC, triggering a sudden cooling of the northern hemisphere. This would explain the rapid and dramatic temperature drop, as well as the expansion of glaciers during the Younger Dryas. The idea that this cooling was tied to changes in ocean circulation is widely accepted by scientists today, but there remains much speculation over what specifically caused the sudden influx of fresh water into the Atlantic. One of the more controversial and fascinating theories posits that the Younger Dryas was caused not by gradual melting of ice, but by a catastrophic impact event, the explosion of a comet or asteroid over the North American continent. This theory gained traction in the early 2000s, when a team of researchers uncovered evidence of iridium and platinum deposits in sediment layers dating to the time of the Younger Dryas. These rare elements are often associated with extraterrestrial impacts and suggested that something from the sky may have played a role in the Earth's sudden climate shift. The impact hypothesis proposes that a comet or a fragment of a larger celestial body struck the Earth or exploded in the atmosphere, causing massive wildfires and the release of huge quantities of dust and soot into the atmosphere. This material would have blocked sunlight, cooling the planet and causing the rapid onset of the Younger Dryas. The resulting fires could have also added greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, creating a paradoxical combination of both cooling and potential longer-term warming effects. It's a theory that offers a compelling and dramatic explanation for the global cooling, but it also remains highly debated. If such an impact event occurred, it would have had far-reaching consequences. The evidence from climate models suggests that the firestorms and atmospheric dust would have blocked sunlight for months or even years, severely disrupting agriculture, animal migrations, and the natural rhythms of Earth's ecosystems. But while the idea of an impact event is enticing, definitive proof remains elusive. The search for a crater or other direct evidence of such a cosmic collision has yet to yield conclusive results. Regardless of the cause, the impact of the Younger Dryas on the Earth's ecosystems was profound. The sudden drop in temperatures would have decimated populations of megafauna, the large mammals like mammoths, mastodons, and saber-toothed cats that roamed the northern continents during the Ice Age. The cooling period coincides with the extinction of many of these species, raising the possibility that the climate shift played a role in their disappearance. However, the exact relationship between climate change and megafauna extinction is still debated. The cooling period also had significant effects on human populations. As the climate shifted, prehistoric hunter-gatherers found themselves facing more difficult environmental conditions. The change in vegetation, the migration patterns of animals, and the availability of resources would have forced these early humans to adapt in ways they had never experienced before. Some researchers suggest that this environmental stress could have played a role in the development of agriculture. Perhaps the agricultural revolution was, in part, a response to the unpredictable climate of the Younger Dryas, as people sought to control food production more effectively in the face of an increasingly erratic environment. Despite the considerable advances in understanding the Younger Dryas, many questions remain unanswered. The impact hypothesis, while intriguing, has yet to be conclusively proven. Was there truly a comet or asteroid that caused this event? Or was the cooling simply the result of other atmospheric or oceanic disruptions? And if it was a cometary impact, what does that suggest about Earth's vulnerability to such events? And how might it influence our future understanding of cosmic hazards? The mystery deepens when we consider the lasting effects of the Younger Dryas. Did this event truly mark the end of the Ice Age, or was there something even more significant that followed it? Could the abruptness of the cooling signal a shift in Earth's larger climate systems, a change that remains with us to this day? What role did the Younger Dryas play in the broader story of human civilization, and how might we have adapted to survive such a cataclysm? These questions, unresolved after centuries of study, suggest that we have only scratched the surface of understanding the true nature of the Younger Dryas. As we continue to explore and unearth new evidence, one thing remains certain: The mysteries of this dramatic climatic event are far from over, and the answers may still be buried in the deep layers of time, waiting to be discovered. Beneath the vast frozen expanses of the Arctic and subarctic regions, layers of ancient permafrost stretch deep into the earth. For thousands of years, these frozen layers have remained undisturbed, immobile, locked in time. Encased in the ice is a hidden world, preserved in a state of stasis, as if the past were frozen, waiting to reveal its secrets. Among the many things that have been buried within these frozen layers are the remnants of long-extinct creatures, mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and the ancient flora that once dominated the landscape. But there is something else, something even more enigmatic, that has quietly remained trapped in the permafrost. Viruses. These viruses, many of which are millions of years old, are being unearthed at an accelerating rate as climate change continues to melt the permafrost. The rise in global temperatures has begun to thaw these ancient ice sheets, exposing remnants of a long-forgotten past, both organic and viral. In 2005, scientists in Siberia made a chilling discovery: a sample of permafrost containing the frozen remains of a virus that had been dormant for over 30,000 years. This giant virus, named Pithovirus sibericum, was not the kind of virus humans are used to seeing, microscopic and invisible, but rather an ancient, massive structure, larger than many modern viruses. Its discovery raised alarm bells. If viruses that had been frozen for millennia could still be revived, what else might be waiting to be awakened? The idea of reviving ancient pathogens from the permafrost is a subject that straddles the line between scientific curiosity and fearful speculation. As the Earth warms, these deep layers of ice, containing organic material, bacteria, and viruses, are beginning to melt at unprecedented rates. What lies beneath the surface? Could these ancient, dormant diseases present a threat to modern humans? Or perhaps more disturbingly, could they bring with them something we've never encountered before, something even more dangerous than what we already know? To understand the potential dangers of these frozen viruses, it's important to recognize just how long they have been locked away in the ice. The permafrost, which forms in regions where the ground remains frozen year-round, serves as a time capsule. Within this permafrost, life forms that existed long ago are preserved in a way that is nearly impossible in other environments. Over thousands, even millions of years, the landscape has undergone dramatic changes. Species evolved and became extinct, and ecosystems shifted, but the permafrost remained. What it contained, however, was not always visible, until now. As the ice melts and ancient layers are revealed, some of the most remarkable finds have come from these virus-rich sediments. Pithovirus sibericum was not the only virus to emerge. In 2014, another discovery was made by French scientists working in the Siberian permafrost, a 30,000-year-old virus, this time a member of the mollyvirus family. Despite its age, it was capable of infecting amoeba cells in the laboratory, much to the astonishment of the researchers. These giant viruses are far larger and more complex than typical viruses and raise profound questions about how life and disease evolved millions of years ago. What's perhaps most unsettling about these discoveries is not just that viruses can survive in frozen states for such long periods, but that they may still be infectious when thawed. When the scientists revived Pithovirus, they were able to confirm that it was capable of infecting living organisms, albeit only in the lab and only in very specific conditions. The possibility that such viruses, left undisturbed for tens of thousands of years, could still carry the capacity to infect modern life is both fascinating and terrifying. This raises a pivotal question. Could these viruses, long dormant in the ice, have an impact on today's ecosystems or even on human health? Could the same warming that has triggered the thawing of the permafrost also trigger the reawakening of long-dead pathogens? The thawing permafrost is, in essence, a Pandora's box of ancient viruses, bacteria, and microbes, each with the potential to interact with modern organisms in unpredictable and unknown ways. But the true scale of the problem, and the threat that these ancient viruses might pose, is still largely unknown. While the viruses discovered so far have been relatively benign, or only capable of infecting very specific simple organisms like amoebas, there is still the potential for more dangerous pathogens to be unearthed, and the scientific community is not entirely sure what the risks are. To date, there has been no confirmed case of a revived virus infecting humans, but the risk of such an occurrence cannot be entirely ruled out. This uncertainty is heightened by the fact that viruses are fundamentally different from other life forms. They are not alive in the conventional sense. They cannot replicate or perform metabolic functions on their own. Instead, viruses rely on the cells of living organisms to reproduce. In essence, they are parasites of life itself. Some of these ancient viruses could have evolved in a completely different world, with entirely different environmental conditions. If reintroduced into modern ecosystems, would they behave in a way we cannot anticipate? Could they evolve rapidly, adapting to new environments, potentially becoming more infectious? The melting of the permafrost is not a phenomenon limited to Siberia or the Arctic. As the climate warms, permafrost is also thawing in other parts of the world, Canada, Alaska, and Greenland, for example. Even in regions where the permafrost may not be as old or as deep as in Siberia, the potential for ancient organisms to be released is still present. A disturbing aspect of this thawing process is that it not only releases pathogens, but also ancient bacteria that might have survived for eons. Some of these bacteria could be responsible for deadly diseases that existed long before human civilization, such as the plague or anthrax. The fact that these diseases may still lie dormant in the frozen earth raises a new set of questions. Will we be prepared if they come back? Furthermore, the issue is not simply one of revival. The modern world has changed considerably since these viruses were first trapped in the ice. Global travel, climate change, and the interconnectedness of human populations mean that any potential reemergence of ancient viruses could spread far more quickly than they ever could in the past. A virus that was once contained to a remote corner of the planet could, in the 21st century, become a global health threat with startling speed. What other secrets does the permafrost hold? What viruses have yet to be discovered? Some researchers have even suggested that the viral time capsule may be far larger than we imagine. Could the thawing of the permafrost provide not only insight into ancient diseases, but also the key to understanding the origins of viruses themselves? Could it shed light on the evolution of life on Earth and reveal how viruses have shaped ecosystems and influenced the course of history? Perhaps even more disconcerting is the possibility that, beyond viruses, the permafrost may harbor ancient pathogens that we are ill-equipped to recognize, much less fight. After all, our knowledge of microbial life and viruses is constantly evolving, but there is much about the prehistoric microbial world that we still do not understand. Could ancient viruses have been responsible for mass extinctions in the past? Events that have left no clear trace in the fossil record? Could this be a mechanism of evolution we have never fully appreciated? As scientists continue to explore the permafrost and thawing ice, there is a deepening sense of unease and fascination about what might be discovered. The implications of these finds are vast, not only for our understanding of past life but for the future of our planet. The more we uncover, the more questions arise. How prepared are we for the resurgence of ancient pathogens? What might we have forgotten about the viruses that once thrived in a world very different from our own? The melting permafrost is a stark reminder that Earth's past is far from dead and gone. It is merely waiting to reveal itself again, with consequences we may not yet fully grasp. Each thawed layer of ice may bring us closer to the answers we seek, or it may uncover new mysteries we are not ready to face. What lies beneath the surface of these ancient frozen layers? And what will we do when the past starts to resurface in ways we never imagined? As we journey deeper into the Ice Age, another mystery emerges, one that has puzzled archaeologists and scientists for centuries. It is the Ice Age cave lion, a majestic predator whose presence once ruled the eastern and northern expanses of the globe. These creatures, with their distinctive, powerful build, roamed vast landscapes that stretched from Siberia to Europe, leaving behind bones, teeth, and occasionally full remains. But despite the traces they've left behind, the story of the Ice Age cave lion remains shrouded in mystery. What caused their eventual extinction? Were they the top predators of their time, or did their fate become entwined with the forces of a changing world? The Ice Age cave lion, or Panthera spelaea, is an ancient relative of the modern lion, though its features were distinct. Standing taller and with longer limbs than today's lions, this predator was built for endurance, stalking prey across the frozen wilderness. Their thick, tawny fur and large, muscular frames were adapted to the frigid temperatures of the Ice Age. It's believed they had a similar hunting style to today's big cats, working alone or in small groups to hunt large herbivores like mammoths and bison. But beyond the basic facts lies an enigma: the strange disappearance of these lions. Unlike some Ice Age megafauna that vanished gradually, the cave lion's extinction happened suddenly. For a long time, researchers attributed the disappearance of these majestic predators to the sudden end of the Ice Age, when temperatures soared and their preferred hunting grounds, like the steppe grasslands, turned to dense forests. Yet, there's something more to their story that we still don't fully understand. One of the most astonishing discoveries came in the early 2000s, when a well-preserved cub was found in the Siberian permafrost. Frozen in time for 28,000 years, the cub was so remarkably intact that scientists were able to examine its fur, teeth, and even its skin. This discovery stunned researchers and led to numerous questions. Was this cub's preservation the result of a sudden, catastrophic event? Did a volcanic eruption, a meteor strike, or some other natural disaster cause the world to shift so rapidly that even the mighty cave lion could not survive? The answer remains elusive. This cub, which was unearthed in Tunguska, a place already famous for the mysterious explosion of 1908, only deepens the intrigue. Some have speculated that this area, known for ancient volcanic activity, may have once been a hotbed of environmental disturbances that contributed to the downfall of many species. Could the lion's extinction have been part of a larger pattern of environmental upheaval? Was this sudden event, preserved perfectly in the ice, a glimpse into a larger, previously unknown catastrophe? Could these lions have been wiped out by something more than just the changing climate, but a cataclysmic event that altered their ecosystem overnight? The mysterious preservation of this cub, its fur still intact, its eyes still clearly visible, raises even more peculiar questions. What conditions allowed for such a remarkable level of preservation? And why were these creatures, seemingly so adept at surviving the harshest of climates, suddenly rendered extinct? As we delve deeper into the Ice Age, the mysteries of climate change become more complex. While it's widely believed that the warming temperatures and the disappearance of the cave lion's primary food sources played a role in their extinction, could there have been a more sudden, unforeseen event that sealed their fate? Moreover, another element adds to the puzzle: the possibility of human involvement. Did early humans hunt these powerful creatures to extinction, as some researchers suggest? The evidence of human activity in Ice Age caves is vast, and there are several instances of cave lion bones appearing in archaeological sites linked to early humans. carvings and cave art depicting these majestic creatures have been discovered in France and Spain, where prehistoric artists immortalized the lion's image on cave walls. Did early humans, in their survival struggles, target these animals, pushing them toward extinction? Or, more intriguingly, did early humans have a more complex relationship with the lion, perhaps even worshiping it or considering it a sacred creature? Some theories propose that the cave lion's extinction may have been linked to an evolutionary shift in the animal kingdom. As the climate warmed, some animals adapted by shifting to more temperate environments. Others, like the cave lion, could not. Could their extinction simply have been the result of an evolutionary bottleneck, where the change in climate disrupted their genetic diversity to the point where they could no longer sustain themselves? The idea that a species as dominant as the cave lion could disappear due to an inability to adapt seems almost impossible, yet the evidence seems to point in this direction. But here lies another question. If climate change and food scarcity were the driving forces behind the extinction of the cave lion, why did other creatures, like the wolf, brown bear, and even the saber-toothed tiger, survive into the next epoch? What was it about the cave lion's biology, its habits, or its ecological niche that made it particularly vulnerable to this shift? Then there is the perplexing case of the cave lion's behavior. Unlike its modern relatives, the cave lion seems to have been more solitary, yet it might have hunted in small groups at times, a characteristic that some researchers believe could have been a unique adaptation to the challenges of the Ice Age environment. Some paleontologists believe that the lion's solitary nature might have led it to compete more fiercely for prey with other predators, eventually contributing to its demise. Did the increase in competition between predators drive the cave lion to extinction? Or was it the loss of prey that caused its downfall? To make matters more complex, the fossil record of the cave lion is incomplete. Despite their widespread existence, full skeletons of the cave lion are exceedingly rare. Most remains consist of partial bones and teeth scattered across Eurasia. Could these fragmentary remains tell us more if we had more complete data? And even more disturbingly, is there evidence still hidden beneath the ice, waiting to be discovered, that could provide the final answers to the mystery of this Ice Age predator? Even today, as technology advances, we find ourselves revisiting the question of the cave lion's fate. With new genetic techniques, scientists are beginning to extract DNA from remains that have been locked in the ice for millennia. Could future studies reveal a deeper, more complicated history of this creature's extinction? Could we even, one day, bring back the cave lion, or at least come to understand the exact chain of events that led to its disappearance? As we leave the Siberian tundra, where the ice still holds its secrets, we are reminded that mysteries like these are rarely solved in one lifetime. The story of the cave lion, its final days on Earth, may yet reveal more than we can imagine. Was its extinction a natural consequence of an evolving world, or was it the result of an event far beyond the understanding of even the most skilled archaeologists? The mystery of the cave lion, like so many other Ice Age riddles, continues to evade us. And in the heart of the frozen wilderness, perhaps the answers are still waiting to be uncovered, frozen in time, just beyond reach. In the remote corners of the Earth, beneath blankets of snow and layers of ice, there exists an ancient record of life from a time long past. Fragments of creatures who once roamed the planet, their remains frozen and preserved in places where human presence is almost non-existent. These are not the familiar mammoths or saber-toothed tigers that we often associate with the Ice Age, but rather more obscure remnants of creatures whose names we may never know. Dispersed across the vast and inhospitable landscapes of the Arctic, the Andes, and the high mountain ranges, lie hidden caches of animal bones, tucked away in places where life and death intertwine in ways that defy easy explanation. It is not uncommon for scientists to stumble upon these caches while conducting research in far-flung places. Remote caves, glacial crevices, and high-altitude plateaus sometimes yield these bone collections, sometimes the scattered remnants of an ancient herd, sometimes the remains of lone individuals, sometimes even entire skeletons, preserved in such a way that they appear almost as though the creatures had only recently passed. The bones are often found in unexpected places, sometimes miles from where any reasonable person would assume the animals would have been, forcing the researchers to question what they know about prehistoric behavior, climate, and survival. The most famous of these bone caches are perhaps those found near the Siberian permafrost. As the frozen ground begins to thaw with climate change, new and old discoveries are emerging from the ice, adding layers to a mystery that has lingered for decades. The bones, some of which date back tens of thousands of years, are so well preserved that scientists can study the animals' diets, their movements, and sometimes even their illnesses. These discoveries are valuable for understanding the animals of the Pleistocene epoch: mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and bison. But the locations of these finds and their relationship to the geography of the land at the time present a deeper puzzle. How did these animals come to rest in such isolated spots? Were they victims of environmental catastrophes, like the sudden shifts in climate that defined the end of the Ice Age? Or did they end up there for reasons we have yet to comprehend? One such discovery occurred in 2007, when researchers found a collection of ancient mammoth bones along the banks of the Yenisei River in Siberia. These bones, many still encased in the frozen earth, suggested the presence of a mammoth herd. The remarkable thing, however, was the location of this find. It was far from any known migration route for the species, and far from any expected place where such a herd would have gathered. Scientists theorized that these animals had either been swept to their final resting place by floods or other natural events, or they may have been driven there by other, more mysterious forces. Was it a dramatic climatic shift? A natural disaster? Or could something more profound have been at work? This scenario, of bones appearing in unusual, difficult-to-reach locations, is not confined to Siberia. In the high mountains of the Andes, for example, remains of prehistoric animals have been found scattered across treacherous peaks and ridges, where it would seem nearly impossible for large creatures to have ventured. In one such instance, a team of archaeologists uncovered the bones of large Ice Age mammals, specifically camelids, high in the Peruvian Andes. The location was so remote and inhospitable that it seemed almost implausible that these animals could have made their way to this height. Yet there they were. How could a herd of ancient animals have ended up at an altitude where oxygen is thin and the temperatures are far colder than they would have ever encountered in their natural range? It is, perhaps, one of the enduring mysteries of Ice Age life, how certain species manage to survive in places where we would not expect them to have thrived, and why some of them ended up in the most difficult-to-reach areas. Were these bones left by animals seeking refuge from an impending catastrophe? Or were they simply the remains of creatures who had ventured into unknown territory, either by choice or by circumstance, and perished there? Some researchers speculate that these animals may have been pushed into these remote locations by the changing climate during the late stages of the Ice Age. At a time when Earth was experiencing significant shifts in weather patterns, such as the younger Dryas event, herds may have been forced to migrate in search of food or more hospitable environments. In some cases, it's possible that they were led into these treacherous areas by environmental pressures, or perhaps even predators. Yet, even that explanation raises more questions. Why did some animals make it out, while others met their end in places far removed from what would be their normal habitat? There are other, more speculative theories that attempt to explain these strange bone caches, theories that seem almost too far-fetched to fully embrace but remain intriguing nonetheless. Some have suggested that ancient human hunters might have intentionally driven herds of animals into these remote locations, either as part of a hunting strategy or as a method of controlling the herds. Yet, there is no clear evidence that humans during the Ice Age had the capability to herd large animals into such difficult-to-reach areas. Others have pointed to the possibility of a catastrophic event, such as an ice tsunami or the sudden rupture of glacial lakes, that could have driven these animals into these isolated places. Glacial meltwater, trapped by ice dams, could have created violent floods, sweeping animals into areas they could never have reached on their own. A sudden release of massive quantities of water could have sent animals tumbling into valleys or ridges where they could neither escape nor survive. The mysteries surrounding these remote bone caches also extend to the question of their preservation. Some of these bones have been frozen in time for tens of thousands of years, a remarkable feat of natural preservation. The permafrost in Siberia and the Andes has acted as a natural refrigerator, preserving the bones in pristine condition. But in some areas, the preservation goes even further. In Alaska, for example, ancient mammoth and bison bones have been found with traces of hair and even intact tusks. The preservation of these bones allows scientists to conduct studies that provide remarkable insights into the biology of these creatures. But it also raises questions about the environmental conditions that contributed to their preservation. Were these animals simply victims of environmental forces, or did the ancient ecosystems of the Ice Age hold patterns and behaviors that we don't fully understand? The sudden and sometimes unexplained appearance of these bones has led some scientists to consider that the ancient ecosystems themselves might have been more fragile than we realize, constantly on the brink of collapse, responding to pressures that we can barely comprehend. And then there is the human element. Were these animals and their eventual resting places significant to the people of the Ice Age? We know that early humans interacted with the animals of the Ice Age in ways that we can barely grasp, using their bones and skins for tools, clothing, and shelter. Some of these bone caches could hold evidence of early human activity, whether as hunters or scavengers. Could these locations have been gathering places for early humans, drawn to the abundance of animal remains? Or did they, too, leave their mark on these remote and mysterious locations? What, then, do these remote caches of bones tell us about the creatures of the Ice Age, the world they inhabited, and the people who shared that world? How did these animals survive and thrive in regions that seem ill-suited to their existence? And what, if any, role did humans play in their fate? More importantly, what do these remains say about the Earth itself, a planet of remarkable, often brutal resilience and mystery? The bones, scattered across the most remote parts of the planet, remain locked in their frozen time capsules, waiting for the right moment to reveal their secrets. And as we continue to unearth them, piece by piece, we are reminded that the Ice Age, with all its frozen mysteries, is still far from fully understood. What other caches are hidden in the remote corners of the Earth, waiting to tell their stories? And what deeper secrets about life and death on this ancient planet still remain buried beneath the ice?